I'm just one of us. I'm just a cop, like all of you here, who took an oath to protect and serve, and we take that very seriously, don't we? So what I'm going to do here for the next 3 hours or so, I'll find the right spot, maybe we'll do a back feed here, is what I'm going to do is we're going to look at how do we in this law enforcement family deal with the accumulation of grief and loss and death. Are any of us exempt? Did y'all leave? Now, y'all can't be that quiet to blind man, okay? Are any of us exempt from that? Absolutely not. Do all of us in our personal lives and our careers, do we all at some point in our life have to walk through the valleys of life? Do we all have to do it? Absolutely. So what I want to do for the next 3 hours is we're going to look at some of those things. Where do they come from? Where do all these stressors come from? How do we get them? How does it affect our lives? How does it affect our marriage? How does it affect our careers, our health? We're going to look at some of those things today. You're going to hear me talk a lot about, you're going to hear me repeat myself. You're going to hear me talk about a cup. I'm talking about an emotional cup. Do we all have one? Yes, we do. Do they fill up? And when they fill up, where do we usually dump our cups? Where at? On our family. The people that we're closest to, the ones we say we love the most, are ones that are usually going to pay for that cup when it fills up. I'm going to talk about that this morning. You're going to hear me talk about a closet, talking about the subconscious mind. There's this little part of the brain called the amygdala. It's about the size of a walnut. It holds all the memories in your life. From the time that you were in your mom's womb until today, every memory that you have experienced, everything you experience, this memory is logged on this amygdala, if you will, by use of the 5 senses, what you see, smell, hear, taste, and touch. All these things are logged. Now, once we have these things in this mainframe we call the brain up here, can we make them go away? All these memories, can we make them go away? Shake your heads no. We cannot make them go away. So we're going to look at that. How does that affect us then? If we have these traumas in our life, we have these grief and loss. We've already determined no one's exempt from that. So if we're there and we can't make them go away, then how are we going to deal with them? We're going to look at some of those things today. But here's what I want you to do. Listen carefully. As I talk for the next 3 hours, I want each one of you here, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to the person sitting next to you. I'm not talking to your spouse. I'm not talking to your lieutenant or sergeant. I'm talking to you. I want each one of you to take a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror this morning. I want you to ask that person in the mirror 2 questions. Number 1, do I like who I see in the mirror looking back at me based on my behavior? Now, I can tell you all day long that I love you. I can tell you all day long how important you are to me. But where is the behavior to indicate that? So when you look at that person in the mirror, you ask them, do I like who I see in the mirror looking back at me based on my behavior and how I talk to and treat others? If the answer to that question is, Bobby, there are times that I do say things I shouldn't say to people that I say I love. There are times that I don't treat people right. Then question number 2 should be, am I, person in the mirror, willing to change for the better? And who's responsible for the change, my friends? We are. Can't blame me. We hear it all the time. Well, they make me so mad. Can someone make you mad? Yes. Well, they can make you upset, but you have to choose to be angry. Now, there are people, we all know people, they walk into a room and make your blood pressure go up, can't they? But nobody can make you. So what do we do then with all these feelings and emotions? And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, here we go. We got this state trooper from Louisiana going to come up here, got a bunch of initials after his name, writes a bunch of books, travels all over the world lecturing, but thinks he has all the answers to grief and loss and death and how we deal with all these things in our life, which, by the way, isn't true. I work with state troopers all the time, and they ask me questions, and they expect me to give them answers, and I tell them, dude, I don't even understand your question. I surely don't have an answer. But what we are going to look at here today is how do we deal with these things that affect us? How do we get to the point that we can ask for help? Because we, in this law enforcement family, do we like to talk about feelings and emotions? No. because we've already been taught. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. We don't like to talk about feelings and emotions. You may be thinking, well, here we go. He's going to talk about feelings and emotions. He's probably going to make us all stand up, hold hands, do a little group hug, sway back and forth, sing a little kumbaya. I promise you that ain't going to happen. You probably picked up by now, I'm not a kumbaya kind of guy. I'm a realist. I'm not an idealist. I deal with realities of a cop's life. And it is our lives that we lead as cops. Are they always pleasant? Are they always pleasant? No. They are not. So then how do we deal with those? So we're going to look at some of those things today. Now, imagine if you will, it's Saturday morning. You're watching cartoons. Oh, you're 9, 10 years old. And you're watching cartoons, Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. Now, how many of you remember as a child watching the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour? Say yes. Yes. Now, there's two characters involved in the Roadrunner show. Who are they? Okay, you got who? Wile E. the Coyote. Who else? The Roadrunner. Now, how come he didn't have a name? He's just the Roadrunner. Well, the Coyote's just a coyote. How come they gave him a name? Now, we as cops, are we inquisitive? We're very nosy. You guys here today are here. Y'all work in capacities. That's why you're here for 10 days. They're going to teach you how to do this job in the covert things that you do. Is it dangerous? Yes. Is it very dangerous? Sometimes. Is it for everyone? No. It is not. It is very dangerous, and it's not for everyone. But we like to look at these things. Now, you guys have been in the wildlife side of the law enforcement. And now, out of curiosity, if you watch that show, because we are very inquisitive, I always had lots of questions when I watched the Roadrunner show. Like, where did he get the money to pay for all those missiles and stuff? Did he have a credit card? What was his credit limit? What happened if he didn't pay his bill? You know what I'm saying? What was his address? Y'all see what I'm saying? We're very inquisitive. So we'll call him Billy. Billy's 9, 10 years old. That's Saturday morning. He's watching the cartoons. And once again, this dadgum coyote does not catch this Roadrunner. Now, well, I got to ask. I got to know. How many of you were pulling for the Roadrunner when you watched that show? Say yes. Okay, how many of you are pulling for the coyote? Say yes. Yes. Now, you know, he was an attempted murderer. Isn't it amazing? I mean, I'm a coyote guy. I just wanted just one time. Just once as a child, when I watched that show, I wanted that coyote to grab that bird by the frickin' neck. You know what I'm saying? Just once. Grab him. Arrogant little piece of crap that he was. You know, he would explode and go over the canyon, crap like that, and he'd run over and go beep, beep, look at him. Somebody should have shot him. You know what I'm saying? So little Billy's watching. Once again, the coyote does not catch the Roadrunner. He explodes in the bottom of the canyon. And about that time, as the show's going off, it's Saturday morning, all his friends are outside playing. You know, you can hear them outside. They're playing pitch and playing soccer and stuff like that, just having fun as kids do on Saturday morning. Billy starts to get up to turn off the TV. And about that time, a commercial comes on. Now, does the marketing, advertising industry know how to get to your children? Yes. Absolutely. They do know how. They tell me that in today's society, with our generation of children today, that they have to change every image on a TV show, a commercial, every 1/10 of a second, just to keep your children's attention, because they're so fast paced. They all have cell phones, they're texting 95 miles an hour. It amazes me how fast they can move their fingers to do that. But they can't pass math. Isn't that amazing? So little Jimmy, or little Billy, he gets up, turn off the TV. Commercial comes on. It looks like an abandoned football field. The stadium is packed with children on both sides. In the middle of this football field, if you will, is about a dozen tractor-trailer rigs. There's an entrance ramp leading to the first, an exit ramp leading from the last. Little Billy, now do they have his attention? Yes. Absolutely. So he's standing there, man, what are all those kids doing there? Well, I wonder what those tractor-trailers are doing out there on that football field. And about that time, man walks to a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me here today. You're about to witness one of the greatest stunt drivers of all time attempt to break the world's distance record on a motorcycle. Who's he talking about? Evel Knievel. And here he comes. You hear this motorcycle coming from left to right. He's on his Kawasaki. He's doing a wheelie as he goes across the middle of the field. He has his outfit on. What does his outfit look like? Red, white, and blue. What's on his helmet? Stars. Isn't that amazing how powerful this little amygdala is? Records all these memories of everything you saw. Some of you 20, 30, 40 years ago, but you remember seeing Evel Knievel in his outfit, American to the core. He zooms up to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me here today. You will not see me attempt to break the distance record here today. I, Evel Knievel, the greatest stunt driver of all time, will break the distance record here today. Now, would we as police, would we consider Evel Knievel a little arrogant and cocky? Yes. Absolutely. Because see, there's a thin, thin line between being cocky and confident. And where do most of us on that line stand? Hopefully confident, right? Now, come on, let's be real. Where do most of us stand? We at least straddle the line, don't we? Probably lean a little bit to the cocky side. And I'm going to be honest with you now. I'm a Louisiana State Trooper. Before I got shot in 1986, most of us as state troopers were assigned to outlying, we call them parishes, not counties, to outlying parishes and some smaller areas where at 5 p.m. a lot of the sheriff's deputies went home at 5 p.m. and the only cop that would be in that parish until 8 o'clock the next morning would be one state trooper. One trooper per shift, per parish. There's usually no backup. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. How many of you have been on the shoulder of the road somewhere or out in the middle of nowhere and you realize this is going downhill fast and I need me some help, and you start calling for some help? How many of you have been there and say yes? Now, I've been there. Now, listen to me. When I'm calling for help, now, can you hear it in their voice? When they're calling for you, it ain't, hey, meet me for a coffee and a donut, is it? No. This is serious business. I need some help. I need help. You can hear it in their voice. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been there more times than I care to remember. But when I'm calling for me a backup, guys, we can get somebody out there. I sure would appreciate it. Please do not send me some little type B personality. You know what I'm talking about. Well, you know the policy says you can't exceed 10 miles an hour, the posted speed limit under any condition. Do not send me him. I will shoot him when he eventually gets there. I want the sucker to back me up, who might be on the shoulder of the highway writing a ticket or about to write a ticket. When he hears me screaming for help, he takes those driver's license and he throws them on the dadgum on the shoulder of the highway, tells them, back up. My brother needs what? Help. My brother needs help, and he is en route. Now, I want him to have a disciplinary file about that thick. Am I telling the truth, my friends? Yes. That's the one I want to back me up. He don't mind getting a day or two off for disciplinary action. If you can still see the needle on your speedometer, you ain't going fast enough. So Evel Knievel, he gets on this motorcycle. He lines up that entrance ramp. Boy, he's concentrating. As the camera zooms in on him, you can see the intensity in his face. The barometric pressure, the temperature, the wind velocity, all these things are important. He reaches down and gets him a handful of grass and throws it up in the air. Looks at it, watches it fly away. He's concentrating. Everything has to be right because he's about to propel himself into space on a motorcycle. And about that time, little Billy, he's just standing there watching. He's captivated. They've got his attention. And Evel Knievel releases that clutch and rolls that throttle back and shoots down this football field like a missile. Hits that entrance ramp, skyward he goes. The camera zooms in on him. Looks like he's suspended in space. Little Billy's just standing there watching, mesmerized. But things are going off in his head, isn't it? The camera zooming in on Evel Knievel, and about that time, he begins to descend. There's a black line going over the exit ramp. He has to cross that black line to break the record, and he does, and the crowd goes wild. He comes up to the microphone, big smile on his face. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me here today. Join me for the festivities. Fun will be had by all. And little Billy is standing there. He's thinking to himself, what's going through his mind right now? Come on, guys, tell me, what's he thinking? Say it again. I want to be Evel Knievel. I want to do that. And he runs outside. And he gets his bicycle. And he runs over to the corner of the room and he grabs his Western Flyer. Somebody tell me what a Western Flyer is. It's a wagon. What color is it? Red. What color's the writing on the side? White. What kind of script is it written in? Cursive. Can you see it? Isn't it amazing how powerful this little walnut brain is? This amygdala with all these memories that sometimes aren't good for you to remember. So little Billy hooks up his wagon to the back of his bicycle and down the street. He goes to his best friend's house, Jimmy. Billy and Jimmy are best friends. Man, they blood brothers. Man, they cut their fingers, taped it together. Man, your blood runs through me and my blood runs through you. Man, brothers. We're brothers. He pulls up in the driveway. Jimmy's outside playing pitch with one of his other friends. Jimmy looks and says, hey, dude, what are you doing on that wagon hooked up to your bicycle? He said, look, man, I need 6 bricks in the board. He said, what do you need 6 bricks in the board for? He said, man, I'm going to jump the canal. And if you don't turn off that phone and stop texting, I'm just going to whack you with this frickin' stick. They're going, oh, shit. Now, Jimmy, he probably knows that Billy jumping the canal on his bicycle is not a good idea, but is he going to stop him? No. Sound like the police, don't it? He's in. He is all in. So they go back to the back of the shed, and they throw in 6 bricks, and it's 2 by 12, about 10 or 12 foot long, and they proceed to the canal. They're going through the neighborhood. All the kids are outside playing. They hollering, hey man, where y'all going? And Jimmy hollers out, Billy's going to jump the canal. Now, does it take very long for the word to get through the neighborhood that Billy's about to jump the canal? Does it take long? Sound like a police department, doesn't it? Don't take long for word to get around. Do we in this law enforcement family, do we like to gossip? Come on, guys, can we be real? Do we like to gossip? Do we spread rumors? Even when they're not true? Oh my God. We can be our own worst enemies, can't we? I just want to be in the know. So they're going toward the canal. Now all the friends are coming to the canal. They're coming for one reason and one reason only. Why are they coming? To watch the crash. That's all. They just want to watch the crash. And it's not fair, because see, every one of y'all in here probably got a dead cell phone, got a camera on it, and every time we screw up, it's probably going to be on tape, isn't it? And in about 5 minutes, it'll be on YouTube. You can't hide anymore, can we? Cameras in our cars, cameras on our hips, always taking pictures. Little Billy, he's inspired. He puts them 6 bricks on the edge of the canal, puts that 2 by 12 on top of it. Now, he don't know a dead blame thing about mechanical engineering. He knows less about physics, but he is inspired. He's been motivated. So he gets on his bicycle, gets about 30 yards away, just like Evel Knievel, reaches down, grabs a handful of grass. He don't really know why he did it, but he did it anyway. And he begins to pedal as fast as he can. All his friends are lined up on the canal. Man, they're all intent. They're all watching. Here he comes, pedaling as fast as he can. Hits that entrance ramp, but about the time this bike hits that board, it's not very stable. And it begins to fall over. The bricks begin to topple. But Billy's committed, isn't he? And there is no turning back now. He's committed. And this is going to go downhill fast. And how many of us as cops have been there? Where we're sitting in the median, talking to each other, car to car, and we see our brother zooming down this emotional interstate with his cup way too full with the trials of life that aren't always fair. Life isn't fair, is it? No. And we watch him speeding down this emotional interstate, but the bridge is out. Signs are everywhere, aren't they? The signs are always there, my friends, but did you see the signs that your brother's in trouble? Did you see the signs that you are in trouble? Were you paying attention? The bridge is out. The signs are there. We look at each other. He's going 100 miles an hour down this emotional interstate. He passes up the first exit. The signs are there. It says, bridge out, take exit. And he passes it up. And we look at each other. Yeah, hey, man, he just passed up the exit. Man, you think water call him and tell him that the bridge is out? Oh, man, he works this district. He works this zone all the time. He knows the bridge is out. Surely he knows, right? Maybe I should say something. Or who am I to get in his business? I don't get in his business, but yet you call yourself a family. We call ourselves a brotherhood. We call ourselves all the time. Hey, brother, how you doing, my brother? I mean, ladies, this has nothing to do with your gender, does it, Tracy? No. We're a brotherhood. I don't have a problem calling Tracy my brother. Now, I probably ain't got to do that, but I hope she wouldn't be offended because it has nothing to do with her gender. It has to do with our family. We're a brotherhood. So we see him continue down this emotional interstate. Last exit, there's a flashing sign. Red lights are flashing. Caution, exit now. Last chance. Bridge out. Exit now. And we see our friend. We call him our friend. He's a brother. He passes it up, going down this emotional interstate. And we look at each other and say, dude, that's it. He just passed up his last chance. Reginald to say something? Oh man, who am I? You know, he don't like people in his business, but yet you call yourself his brother. And you watch him as he passes the exit. He hadn't let up on his speed on this emotional interstate. And you see his car crash through the barricade as it flies into space, just like Evel Knievel on his motorcycle. But this is not going to be a good ending. And we jump in our cars, we throw them in drive, we stomp the accelerator, we start, man, maybe I should have said something. Well, maybe you should have before it was too late. And we run over to the edge of the canal or this canyon, and we look down as the cars burst into flames. There's no way he made it out. But you call yourself a family. Why didn't you help your brother when he was in trouble? How do we get there, my friends? Little Billy crashes into the wall. Blood runs down his forearms, his hands, his knees, his elbows. Jimmy jumps into the canal. It's his best friend. And he jumps and he said, man, I should have stopped him. I shouldn't have let him do something so stupid. Oh, we've all been there, hadn't we? Have we all done something that probably could have got us in lots of trouble, maybe even seriously injured or killed? Have we all, most of us, been there? Yeah. If you got out of your police car, if you've been on more, how many, let me just stop here for a second. How many of you have been in law enforcement between 1 and 5 years? Say yes. 5 and 10. Yes. 10 and 15. Yes. 15 and 20. Yes. 20, 25. Yes. 25 to 30. Yes. 30 over? Yes. Dang, dude, when are you going to retire? Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Let somebody else get promoted, for heaven's sake. You know what I'm saying? What's your name, my friend? You said over 30. Steve, it's fun, isn't it, brother? It's a great job. We love this job. It's hard to leave, isn't it, Steve? When your heart's there. When your heart's in the right place and you truly believe, because that oath that you took. And, you know, Josh was telling me about the banner or the thing on the wall. I want to get a picture of that. Somebody tell me what it says right quick.
Character, integrity, confidence, courage.
How about that? Do we in this law enforcement family, is that what we stand for right there?
Yes, yes.
Do you show it?
Hopefully.
I hope you do. We stay on this family because we love it. Jimmy jumps into the canal to go get his friend. It's his friend. But he reaches down to grab his friend's hand. He sees the pain, the physical pain, but also he sees the emotional pain in his eyes as tears begin to well up in his eyes. But see, Billy's already been taught that big boys know what? And to ask for help is a sign of weakness. And I wonder how many more cops will commit suicide this year because they bought into the lie. And it started as a child. The things that we've been taught, the things we've learned, the things that have been told to us. How many of you in here believe in self-fulfilling prophecy? Say yes. You better. You better believe in self-fulfilling prophecy, because if I tell you something enough, you'll begin to believe it. Am I telling the truth? That's true. We've all been there. Jimmy reaches down to grab his hand, the friend's hand, and Billy slaps his hand away. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't need no help. But Jimmy is persistent. Come on, man, let me help you. I don't need no help. Leave me alone. See, Jimmy sees the pain, the physical and emotional pain. He sees the shame in Billy's face as all the friends begin to laugh. Isn't it amazing that when we screw up in this law enforcement family, so many people are there to ridicule and make fun? And let's make a joke out of it. Now, there's a humor in lots of the jobs that we do, and I understand that. I was always the class clown in growing up and going through school, wittiest freshman. I mean, every time they had something at school, a play or a skit that had a comedian part in it, because I could talk just like Flip Wilson. How many of y'all even old enough to even remember who Flip Wilson is?
Yes.
I love Flip Wilson. And I can mimic Flip Wilson. I'm a comedian. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to have fun. But there's also a time to say, dude, you need help. And it ain't funny. What you just done is not funny anymore. Dude, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to destroy your marriage. You're going to lose your career. What you're doing is stupid. And I tell you that out of love. I'm not trying to ridicule you, but I tell you because I love you, because you're my brother. So Billy jumps out of the canal. He climbs his way out, and Jimmy's standing there. Man, let me help you. Leave me alone. And all the friends begin to laugh. In all this shame, and Billy takes off running toward his perceived environment, this safe environment we call home. Now let me ask you a question, my friends. Are all our homes we come from as police officers, were they always safe to go home to? Were they? Not all of them. And I wonder how many of you sitting here today are a police officer today or a law enforcement officer today because you swore, if I ever get a chance to, when I grow up to be an adult, I'll never let someone be treated like I was as a child. And I'll do something where I can protect them, and I can serve them, and I can help them. I wonder how many of you sitting here today got in this family because of that reason. And I'm not saying that's a bad reason. Billy runs into his house. His daddy's a combat veteran. Tough guy. Good dad. Great husband. But he's tough. And Billy runs into this perceived safe environment called home. He runs through the door and slams the door as he bursts into tears. See, you should be able to cry at home without being judged as being weak. But his daddy's a tough guy. Combat veteran. He looks up at his son. He loves his son more than anything in the world. But he's tough. He looks up at his son as he sees the blood running down his face, his arms and legs. Boy, what happened to you? What in the world happened to you? What did you do, son? But he don't want to tell his dad what he's done because it's pretty stupid and dumb what he did. But he sits there and begins to cry. Son, stop that crying. Stop that crying. Ain't no son of mine going to cry. You want to act like a little girl, I'll let you dress like one. You can wear your sister's dress the rest of the day. I wonder how many of you sitting here this morning were told by your father or a father figure that big boys don't cry and stop that crying. I wonder how many of you was told that. I have to also wonder how many of you have already told your own son that. Not understanding the ramifications and what's going to happen to him as he, like you, gets older and older with all the trials of life. And listen to me, my friends. None of us are exempt, and you cannot heal until you feel. No exceptions to the rule. I've been there. Billy's already been taught by the time he's 7, 8, 9 years old, the big boys don't cry, and to ask for help is a sign of weakness. So we shove all these memories, all these things that we've collected by the use of the 5 senses, we've stored them away in this little walnut brain. All these memories of bad things that happened to us, but we don't want to talk about them, do we? Someone might think that I'm weak. So what I want to look at very quickly, we're going to look at 3 things that happen to us. When we start our careers as police officers, the first things that we see are these things that are unnoticed by you. We've already talked about this self-fulfilling prophecy. Things that we've been told, things that we've been taught, things that were understood. It never had to be said, but it was understood. Big boys don't cry to ask for help. It's a sign of weakness. Imagine, if you will, you get up every morning, you step out of the shower, you get ready to go to work. You slip on your trousers, you walk over, you put on your t-shirt, and then you put on your body armor. Now let me ask you a question. What is the purpose of wearing body armor? Protection, preparing you for what? Battle. Preparing you for battle. Now let me tell you what happens when that goes on. The subconscious mind, remember, it's collected all this data based on your experiences, based on things in life. It's gathered all this information. Now, when you put on that vest, even the caveman knew a chameleon years ago that he had enough sense, because we, especially as men, there are two things that are innate. It is to protect and to provide. So the caveman goes out every day to find some food and to protect his family. But even he had enough sense to know, I need to kill me a tiger, or I need to kill me a bear. I need to kill me something, because I need me not only the food, but I need some hide to make me a garment for protection. Even he knew back then to wear his body armor. So you put on your body armor. The subconscious mind knows what that means. That means that you are preparing yourself to go out prepared for battle. And when that happens, the blood pressure rises, heart rate increases, you go into a mild form of fight or flight. Now, the problem with that is, now, is there anything wrong with fight or flight? No. What is the purpose of fight or flight? Say it again. Survival, for protection. It tells you, dude, it's time for you to fight, or it's time for you to flee. See, we don't like that run stuff, do we, as police? But let me ask you a question. Is it okay for you as a law enforcement officer to realize I'm in a bad spot right here where I'm standing, I need to take cover, I need to run, and hopefully in just a couple of minutes I'm going to get some backup? Is that okay to do that? Yes. Some of you need to understand that. We're not going to stand out in the middle of the dadgum corral like the OK Corral and we're going to shoot it out. I hope you got enough sense that we need to run sometimes, to take cover, to wait for somebody, wait for some what? Help. Wait for some help. Let's be smart. So our blood pressure rises, the heart rate increases, we go into this mild form of fight or flight. We are in an area of stress, preparing you for battle. All the senses are enhanced. You see better, you smell better, you hear better. Your fingers are very sensitive when you're in fight or flight. Everything is enhanced, preparing you to fight or flee, preparing for battle. But you don't catch it because you're so accustomed to it. Every day, you're so accustomed to this higher level of stress, God bless you, is that we don't even see it, but it's still real. There's two areas that we look at in dealing with these stressors. Eustress, which is just like the lamb, eustress and distress. Now, how many of you in here were athletes in school? Say yes. Yes. How many of you in here played the piano or did dance recitals or piano recitals? Say yes. None of y'all? No culture in this freaking room. Got no class. Got no class. How many of you remember it's the tip-off for the basketball game or the kickoff for the football game or the hockey match, and you got those butterflies in your stomach? Or you're on your first date, hun ladies, and there's a knock on the door, and this guy standing there, and he said, are you so-and-so? I said, yes, I am. These are for you, and they hand you a bouquet of flowers. It's your first date. And those little butterflies in your stomach, oh, he is so cute, he's so nice. That's called eustress. Unfortunately, my friends, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between good stress and distress. Stress is stress. How many of you in here are married? Say yes. Yes. Hey, do you remember your wedding day? Yes. A little stressed out? Because you guys are going, man, what in the world am I getting myself into? She sure is pretty, and I sure like to kiss her, but God dog, what am I getting into? Because I don't like her mama. And they always heard, look, always when you're dating somebody, go look at their mama, because they might be like them as they get old. I tell my wife all the time, I said, oh, baby, Lord Jesus, let's pray. Let's start now. It's going to take a while. this good stress, this positive stress or distress. The body doesn't know the difference between the two, but it's stressful. These unnoticed things that we do every day. We get that uniform on. We're in a higher level of stress, but we don't notice it, and then we go to work. We're intense. All the things that we do, and we wonder why we step out of the car. I told my friend one day, I was riding with him after I got shot, and he's a great guy, but he'd get out of the car and he'd change his demeanor. He'd change his voice. He sounded like a robot. "May I see your license, please? I need your registration or something." And that's how he talked. He got back in the car and said, "Dude, what's wrong with you?" He said, "Hey, what do you mean, man?" I said, "Why is it you talk to me one way in the car? You're the greatest guy in the world. You'd die for me." I said, "But you step out of the car, you turn into a freaking robot. You're insensitive. You're uncaring, compassionate. You can forget that. Discretion. Is it okay to use discretion in law enforcement?" Yes. Some of y'all need to understand that. Do you have to write everybody a freaking ticket? No. Tim, where you at? Here. See, I'm going to beat him with this stick when I get through here. You see, Tim can be a little attentive. I already picked up on that. Big by the book kind of guy. I thought he was going to write me a ticket. Huh? See, I know him, don't I? I don't know how I'm going to get back to the freaking airport. I know he's going to get lost. I said, "Dude, are we going to have to get a boat or something like that for you to get me back where I need to go?" But we'll go out every day. And we'll do this job that we love so much, and we have fun doing it. But sometimes it's very stressful, isn't it? These unnoticed things in our life. And we go to work, and we have these obvious things in our life. I'll never forget, May 1975 is when I started my police career. I get in the car with this veteran cop. I mean, he is a legend. I had some classes with him out to university. He worked night shift. He'd always come to work I'd come to class in his uniform because he would be working night shift. Mountain of a man, good-looking guy, always had a smile on his face, had a great personality. Everybody knew who he was. I'm just a college student working my way through school. In criminal justice, I want to be the police one of these days. And I met some of the police officers in my classes, semester after semester, and I got to know some of the police. But man, I'd watch him. There's something about him. So I'd ask them, "Man, who is that guy?" "Oh, dude, he's a legend." So I get hired at Monroe Police Department. And I go to briefing. Now let me ask you a question, my friends. When we get into this law enforcement family, what is the one thing you want as a young cop from those veteran cops? From the very first day, what is the one thing you want from them? Respect is something you're going to earn in just a little bit of time. What'd you just say, baby?
Acceptance.
Acceptance. You want to be accepted. What's your name, baby?
Karen.
Karen. Karen, we want to be accepted by them, don't we? Do we sometimes compromise our integrity, our character, even our morals, to be accepted by them? Does it happen? Yes. Self-fulfilling prophecy. I want to be one of them. I get in the car with this legend. He's my field training officer. Now, way back then, we're talking about 30-something, 37 years ago. We didn't have field training officers. Who'd you ride with? Veteran cop. That veteran cop who had a reputation, but he's going to teach you how to be the police. Probably worked inside the gray area a lot, but they taught you how to be the police. I get in the car with this mountain of a man, this legend. He looks over at me and says, "Boy, you look familiar. Where I know you from, boy?" I said, "Sir, I got some class with you out to university." "One of them college boys, are you? Mom and Dad is sending you through school. Guess you're in a fraternity, got you a couple of rental buddies out there, do you, boy?" I said, "No, sir. My parents don't have money. So I'm working my way through school. I got 2 or 3 jobs, all good for you, boy. It's good. Builds character. You'll appreciate it more if you have to work for it. Got some friends out there, do you, boy?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do have some friends at school." He said, "Not for long, you won't. Not if you want to be one of us." Self-fulfilling prophecy. Not if you want to be one of us. From now on, son, the only friends you'll have will just be us. And I'm going to tell you something, my friends. I work with Louisiana State Police. I have a PhD in psychology. I went back to school after my shooting. I still work for the state police in a different capacity. I oversee the Troopers Assistance Program and our chaplains program with the state police. I talk to cops all over the state. And some of them are hurting. And sometimes we have to be real. And I tell them all the time, make sure you have friends out there besides us. Am I telling the truth, my friends? How many of us do we know that those guys who retired, and once they retired, oh, we might mention their name every now and then. Oh, remember when old Billy did that? Remember when old Charles did that? But when's the last time anybody went by and visited with them, had a cup of coffee? Because unfortunately, when we leave this career, it's so unfortunate. When you leave this family in retirement, you're forgotten. Am I telling the truth, my friends?
Yes, you are.
You better have some friends out there besides just us. Boy, you married? I said, yes, sir. I'm going to tell him all about my first wife, my high school sweetheart, the mother of our daughter, Kim. We're best friends. We've been friends since the 6th grade. She's a straight A student, majorette. I'm the football player, athlete. She's the majorette. Brilliant. We're friends. We'll work our way through college. She'll go to nursing school, become a registered nurse, and then when she finished, then I started school. We'd have one daughter. Her name is Kim. I'm going to tell him all about her. She's a trauma nurse, sees more grief and death in a month than most of us as cops will see in a career. But I didn't get a chance to tell him any of that. Because when I told him I was married, he said, that's good, son. Hope you enjoyed it. Because she won't be married long. Not if you want to be one of us. Self-fulfilling prophecy. All those things that we've been told. Big boys don't cry. To ask for help's a sign of weakness. From now on, son, you will be married to the job. Was he telling the truth? Unfortunately, he was. Guys, we love being the police, don't we? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Look, if I got my sight back this afternoon, if for whatever reason God decided to give me back my sight, and my sight came on, I'm telling you right now, I'd call Colonel Mike Edmondson, a dear friend of mine, who's the colonel of the state police. I'd say, Mike, you ain't gonna believe it, dude, but listen, I got my sight back. I'll be at the office in the morning. I'll meet you over at Fleet. Meet me over there. Swear me back in. Give me my commission back. I'm going 10-8. I like being the police. I love taking care of those people because I serve them well. It wasn't about writing tickets or how many arrests I can make. I took an oath to protect them and to serve them. Do my job, but I'm going to serve you. 2 years later, I went through a divorce. Oh, I didn't come home drunk and drinking because I didn't even drink. I didn't come home slapping my wife around because my daddy had taught me better. He said, son, you lay your hands on a woman for one reason and one reason only, and that's to love her. Some of y'all need to listen to what I'm saying. I didn't abuse her. I just found myself gone all the time, being a policeman 24/7. How stupid are some of us. Oh, we love our jobs, but do you love them more than you love your family? What does your behavior indicate? Which one do you love the most? But they taught us well. To be tough, to be strong, big boys don't cry, to ask for help is a sign of weakness. You'll be married to the job. So what do we do then? When we go to work every day with all these obvious stressors in our life. How many of you in here are married? Say yes.
Yes.
How many of you in here, give me your name again, my brother.
Stacy.
Stacy. Huh? Steve.
Stacy.
Are you Stacy too?
Tracy.
Oh, shoot, y'all are screwing me up. That's why I was going, wait a minute. Which one are you now?
Stacy.
You're the S and you're the T. Okay. I'm going to screw this up again. You do know that. He's from Nebraska. He don't know no difference. How many of you in here have a perfect marriage? Say yes. Y'all understand my question? Marriage is tough, isn't it? It's a lot of giving and a lot of taking. I love my wife. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. I've never seen my wife. I met her 2 years after my shooting. I've never seen my wife. There's a picture of me and her and our son Brad on the back cover of my first book, Visions of Courage. They say my wife is knocked down gorgeous. I don't know. I've never seen her. But she feels pretty, and that's all that matters to a blind guy. She feels real pretty, as a matter of fact. We're totally opposite. I don't know how many damn master's degrees she had. I told her one day, I said, baby, you got more degrees than a rectal thermometer. She didn't see the humor in that. She's brilliant. She's a clinical dietitian and a licensed professional counselor. Brilliant, but she's quiet. I call her my angel because she is an angel to me. And she was there for me in one of the most toughest times of my life, 2 years following my shooting. Why in the world would she want to be with me? A man with no future, totally blind, but she was there to rescue me. And she's an angel. And I love her, and I treat her like the princess that she is. Guys, some of you need to listen to what I'm saying. Do you love them? Do you show it? All these stressors. No such thing as a perfect marriage. We don't have a perfect marriage. We have a really, really good marriage. But there are times we're so different. Our personalities are so different. Sometimes we have discussions that may be heated, but see, my friends, I've learned it's okay to say, baby, I'm sorry I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. See, I just finished my third book. It'll be in Friday. It's called What's in Your Heart Comes Out Your Mouth. Is that true? See, we probably all heard as children, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Is that true? It's not true at all. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words are devastating. And I could call each one of you up here this morning and say, take up 1 minute. Tell me a story about something that someone done or said to you, and you'll never forget it. Do we all have a story? Yes. And I'm no different. I have the stories. I'm going to talk about that in the third hour. How we deal with those things that people do and say to us. The power of the tongue. Oh, how powerful that tongue is. And how many times we used it to ridicule our children and our spouses. Oh, how about that person on the street that just forgot his freaking wallet at the house, and you come down on him like a ton of bricks. I'm not understanding, guys, that we're all just only what? Human. We're all human. We've all made mistakes. But yet you're not going to allow anybody else to make one, are you? These obvious stressors. How many of you in here have teenagers at home? Say yes. If you ever wanted to kill them, be careful. We're being recorded. Okay, I'll take that back. Will they put you over the edge? Oh, dude, will they put you over the edge? Stressful, isn't it? All these obvious stressors. How many of you in here have a supervisor who is a jackass? Do we all have them? Yeah. Yes, we all have them. He's not here. He's not here. Well, my brother said, well, he's not here. That don't mean he don't exist. He's probably not here because nobody wanted to be around him or her. We have these stressors in our lives. How many of you in here remember when you started your career and you're working your way through school, you and your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case might have been, man, you're trying to get yourself through school, you finally get married, you live in a little bitty house, you man, those old ratty pickup truck, your wife's driving a little Fiat or something like that. Y'all ain't got a bunch of money, but you're trying to get started, get paid every 2 weeks. Man, you get her check or his check and you go through the drive-through window. I know y'all do all that online crap now. Y'all don't understand all that stuff. I got a talking phone and a talking computer. I get so mad at it, I scream back. And I get mad when you can't answer me. You shut up. My secretary said, why the hell are you talking? I said, this freaking computer. said, Bobby, it's an inanimate object. I said, what does that even, shut up, I'm not even talking to you either. You go through the drive-through window, you got both your paychecks. You pull over to the parking lot, you make your deposits, and you write out your house note and your car notes and insurance and utility bills and all that health insurance. Oh, but your health insurance is going down, right? I ain't going to go there. I get in too much trouble. My wife said, Bobby, do not talk about politics. I said, you shut up. You balance your checkbook and you realize for the next 2 weeks you got $6.23. How many of you have been there? Say yes. Yes. Oh, dude. And then that young 10-year-old comes in and says, Mom, well, the teacher gave me this. We're going Friday, we're going to the zoo, and we got to bring $20. You go, oh, baby. You don't want to tell your kids, baby, we got $6.23. Okay, baby. Here we go. Okay, you know all that change you've been throwing in that bucket and that little bottle in the bedroom for the last 10 years? And you go in there and you sit on the floor, say, okay, and you count out them quarters, them dimes, them nickels and pennies, and you get $20. Say, here, baby. And you go, Mom, you expect me to take this rolled change to school? They're going to make fun of me, Mom. Mom, do kids understand lack of money? Probably not. Mom and Dad are wealthy. We have all these stressors, these financial stressors. But what do we do with all of them? All these stressors. How many of you in here, how many people have in here that work for a police department or sheriff's department other than wildlife and fisheries? Say yes. A couple of you. How many of you in here have performed CPR of a child that was unsuccessful? Say yes. It's fun, isn't it? How many of you in here have worked an accident, a traffic accident where someone was killed in a fatality accident? Say yes. It's fun, isn't it? How many of you have worked sexual abuse cases of children who were sexually abused by a grandfather or a father? Say yes. How many of you in here have delivered a death notification to a parent whose child drowned in a lake or was killed in a hunting accident? How many of you have done that? Say yes. It's fun, isn't it? All these obvious stressors, and every day we go and we do these things and our cup fills up with all these obvious stressors that gets to us because we're only what? We're only human. And it does get to us. And sometimes big boys do cry because it hurts, doesn't it? All these obvious stressors that we have to deal with. I remember the death notifications. And I watched that young mother fall to the floor. As I stood there, I felt so helpless. And I knelt down next to her. You're not supposed to bury your children. I knelt down next to her as tears poured down my face. This tough cop with a reputation for being tough. And I sat there and I held her in my arms and I cried and I cried and I cried. I couldn't imagine what it must be like to bury your children. These obvious stressors in our life. The 3-year-old child who died in my arms on interstate. As the mother screamed and yelled, please don't let my little girl die. As I sat there on my knees on the shoulder of the highway, holding this young mother in my left arm and this 3-year-old child in my right, and I prayed, God, please don't let her die. Hold my finger, I said. Hold on to my finger. You just hold on, baby. I said, I'm going to get you some help. I said, when we leave the hospital, we're going to go to McDonald's. We're going to get us a Happy Meal. We're going to slide down the slide, and we're going to play in those balls. I said, we're going to have fun. Baby, hold my finger. Just hold on. And the mother kept looking at me, screaming and sobbing, please, please don't let my little girl die. And I prayed, please, God, don't let her die. She began to release my grip on my finger. I said, baby, squeeze my finger. Hold on, baby. Please hold on. And she released her grip and she dropped her hand. And she laid her little limp body against my chest. And she took one gasp and she was gone. Sitting there on my knees, holding this young mother and this child in my arms, my friends, I sat there and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. You're not supposed to bury your children. So what do we do? So what do we do with all these feelings and emotions when you pull that child out of the lake that is drowned and their parents are standing there watching you and you feel so helpless and you don't know what to do as you try to cover up their body with your shirt and the mother is screaming? What do you do, my friends, with all those feelings and emotions? So we go home. We go home at the end of our shift. And we walk into the door with our cup more than filled with all these feelings and emotions of the day. The drownings, the murders, the rapes. How many of you have been at a location where a cop was shot or killed in the line of duty? Say yes. You cannot go to that scene and go home at the end of the day and everything is fine. But we walk into the house. How was your day? We say it was fine. Really? Please tell me how you can drag that 7-year-old child out of a lake that is drowned and go home and be fine. Please tell me how you do that. I'd like to know. I have a PhD in psychology and I ain't figured it out yet. How you do that? So we walk into the house with all this stuff in our cup. How you doing? I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. Oh, by the way, your children are reading your body language. When you come home, your children are reading your body language because they've seen it too many times when mama and daddy comes home and sits their briefcase down and they say they're doing fine, but in a matter of minutes, their behavior indicates otherwise. How many of you been there? Say yes. Yes. We all have. If you're honest, we all have. Oh, well, I don't want to talk to my family about all the things I have to do. Listen to me, my friends. That's how they learn. We don't have to give the gory details. What's wrong with being honest? When that kid drowned and you held it in the arm and you thought about your own 7-year-old son at home and it got to you, why can't you sit down with your spouse and children? How was your day today, Dad? It was tough. It was tough, baby. Daddy had a tough day. Because it's going to come out. It's going to come out either now or later. How many of you are old enough to remember the old Fram oil filter motto? How many of y'all remember what it was? Say yes. I remember. Mid-70s. There's this mechanic on the commercial. He's got blue slacks, white shirt, dressed a whole lot like me today. His name is Bob. Isn't that weird? He's holding this orange Fram oil. I think my pants are blue, my shirt's white, right? I mean, hell, I could be wrong. I might have screwed up. Don't matter to me. It all looks the same. If I want it to be blue and the shirt white, it's blue and white. You know what I'm saying? Bob is standing there. He's got this orange Fram oil filter in his hand. To his right's an automobile. The hood's raised up. Smoke is boiling out from underneath it. Obviously, the engine is burned up. He's standing there and he said, now, ladies and gentlemen, he said, now, if you would change out this Fram oil filter every 3,000 miles or so, it'll filter out all the grime and the dirt that gets to your engine walls and burns out your pistons and destroys your engine. He said it only costs $2.50, a price all of you can afford. He said you can pay me now for just $2.50 to keep your engine clean, or you can pay me later for $2,500 when your engine burns up, a price some of you cannot afford. In dealing with grief and loss and death, my friends, you can pay me now. When you sit down with your wife, I suggest some of you start developing a better relationship with your spouse. If they're not one of your best friends, you're screwing up. That's a fact. You're screwing up. Every morning when my wife and I get up an hour and a half before she does because she's not a morning person. It took me about 6 months to realize don't speak to her until she speaks to you first in the morning. Because I'd get my feelings hurt. I say, hey, baby, how you doing? And she'd drag herself through the kitchen, and I'd always fix coffee for her. I'd usually bring it to her to bed, and I'd give it to her, and I'd raise her up like a little kid. I'd sit her up in bed, and I'd give her coffee, and she'd just sit there. I quit doing that because she'd spill her coffee because she'd just freaking fall over like a little toy. But I learned. And every evening when I'm at home, before we go to bed, we turn off the phones and the computers and the TVs. And my wife, Janie, and I sit down every night for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes 3, and we just talk. We just talk. Spending quality time. Pay me now, my friends, or pay me later. But you'll pay for all the crap that's accumulated in your cup. So we go home. We've already made everybody mad because you said you was fine, but your behavior indicates otherwise. When you walk into the den, there's your son's tennis shoes on the floor and you kick them out of the way. Start screaming, pick up these shoes. Come, I'm sick and tired of coming home every day, shoes everywhere. You stupid toys. Come pick these toys up. If I step on one more freaking Lego, I'll swear I'll throw them all in the trash can. How many of us have been there? Say yes. Yes. Now, is that what you're really angry about? No. That ain't what you're really angry about, but you're looking for somebody to light the fuse, isn't you? And it don't take much. Dirty dishes in the sink. Oh, another freaking chicken casserole? Is that the only thing you know how to cook? Well, you said that's your favorite, but not every night. Because, see, sometimes we forget, don't we? See, they have a job, too. They go to work, they get the kids on the bus, or they drop them off at school, and they have jobs, too. Teaching school, or whatever their job, or working at a hospital, whatever it is. And they come home every day after pick the kids up. Maybe they ain't had time to wash the dishes yet. But let me ask you a question, my friends. Your hand allergic to water? Some of you guys, listen to me. I do the dishes at my house. Every Saturday morning, my wife, this beautiful lady, she gets up and she goes to exercise. She loves to exercise. She's a clinical dietitian, so she takes care of herself. She eats right. She's beautiful. So she goes and exercises, and then she goes to Whole Foods. Y'all have Whole Foods here? At Whole Foods, I think I got interest in that. I'm not sure. Because she has spent $1 million freaking there. She's in all this healthy stuff, but she goes shopping. That's what she has to do. She shops for food, not clothes. Food, vitamins and food is good. She has me drinking crap. I'm not sure what it is. If I die, send someone to investigate. I think she's been poisoning me for years. But while she's gone, and I get up and I get me a workout. I have a gym at my house, and I work out. And then I start washing clothes, and I make beds, and I clean the kitchen. And when my wife gets home from having a day of fun, all her clothes are washed and folded and put away because I love her. And it's one thing I can do being totally blind. I can't mow the grass. I can't fix the leak in the plumbing pipe. But those are things I can do. My friends, what can you do to help each other? Because you're a family. Why don't you act like one? So we have all these things we try to hide. We sit in our chair after everybody goes to bed because they're already angry at us, aren't they? They all go to bed and we sit there. This isn't fair. But see, we've already been taught. When we worked that first fatality and your veteran cop walked up to you and put his arm around you and said, son, you better learn now how to suck it up and deal with it. Because that's just the way it is if you want to be one of us. Another self-fulfilling prophecy. So you sit there in your chair late at night, you on your 4th beer or your 2nd Jack Daniels. Oh, by the way, when you're sad and depressed and things aren't going well in your life and you start sucking down all your freaking alcohol, I need to remind you that alcohol is a depressant. And it's called potentiation. Sadness, grief in your life mixed with alcohol is called potentiation. 1 + 1 = 5. You just made your problems 2.5 times worse when you sat down and started drinking down the alcohol, trying to numb the pain and make all those images go away that will not go away. I'd be better off dead. I wonder how many in this room besides me, when life was tough and you're sitting on the edge of the bed, as tears roll down your face, and I wonder how many of you thought I'd be better off dead. And you start thinking about taking your life. See, the number one killer of cops in this country is not the bad guys killing you. It's us killing ourselves. Because we bought into the lie that to ask for help is a sign of weakness. How many of you in here have a junk closet at your house? Say yes. When you open up the door to your junk closet, what usually happens? Crap falls out. What do you do with it? You shove it back in. You've probably all said, one of these days when I can find more time, I'm going to clean up this mess. Now, you're sitting there late at night, your family's mad at you, you're drinking too much, you've already having thoughts about, man, I just wish I had some peace and joy in my life. I wish just one freaking day I could come home and I could just smile and laugh and enjoy life. And my friend, let me ask you something. Who's responsible for your peace and joy? Whether you like it or not, my friends, the only one who determines your peace and joy is you. Oh, now, he or she can make you angry, that boss can make you upset, that person on the street who called you every vulgar name in the world, they can get you mad and angry, but I'm going to tell you what, they can't steal your peace and joy unless you give it to them. Now, guys, I'm not being, unrealistic here. I'm human. Oh, look, I get aggravated sometimes. I was on the phone with one of my majors and one of my captains this morning, and they was telling me a little deal that was going on, and I got fired up. I said, well, dude, I'll be back in my office tomorrow. I said, why don't you meet me in my office? Have that jerk come with you, because when I get there, we're going to take care of business. Now, I'm not an ugly person, and I would never talk that way to someone in my office, but I got friends. How many of you have someone, a really, really close friend, that if you went out and killed somebody, that'd help you hide the body? Huh? How many of you got a friend like that? And all the supervisors going, God, I wish you wouldn't have used that example. But you know what I'm saying, don't you? Somebody's there for you no matter what. I got a closet. Now, every year, and I love to duck hunt. My friends won't take me duck hunting no more. I don't know what's up with that. It's the day before duck season, obviously prior to my shooting in 1986. I love duck hunting. Man, we got our blind is brushed. We got our decoys out. We got a black lab. That sucker loved to jump in that cold water. Man, and I'd always, after every season, I'd hang up all my clothes in the closet. At the end of the hall, I still can see it. I'm walking down the hall to get all my hunting gear. Boy, I'm ready. I've got all my stuff laid out. Duck season starts the next morning. Brother, at 5 o'clock the next morning, I'm going to be sitting in that blind booming them ducks. 3. I can only shoot 3 ducks this year? That's horse crap. I ain't doing that. Wasting my time for 3 freaking ducks. Opened up the door to my closet, some crap fell out. I said, one of these days I can find more time. I'm going to clean up this mess. I chunked it back in there. Grabbed my jacket, threw them on the floor. Grabbed my waders, threw them on the floor. Got all my hunting gear. I hang them up after every season. But where's my vest? Little shotgun shell slots in the front, little game pouch in the back. I can't find it. Where's it at? Well, being the trained investigator that I am, it must have fell off a hanger, so I began to look in the bottom of my closet. On one of these days, I'm going to clean up this mess so I can find more time. I began to dig in the bottom of my closet. Well, there it is. Underneath a bunch of junk I'd thrown in there. Kind of a tannish brown color. So I reached in to pull it out. Well, it must be hung up on something, so I yanked a little harder. And about that time, it hit me. Good God, what is that smell? And I looked in the back of my vest, and there was a wood duck. Had been there since last year. Oh, Lord, Jesus, help me here. But that's a good vest. I don't want to waste no money on another vest. I'd make a bunch of money back then. I live within my means. That's a good vest. So I walked out in my yard. I chunked that duck hard as a brick bat. I chunked it over the fence into the pasture. I walked back to the house. I know what I'll do. I'll wash it. So I put some washing powder, some foo-foo stuff in there. I ran through a cycle. I pulled it out. What did it smell like? Wet dead duck. But not as bad as a while ago. My friends, can we be a little delusional about the realities of our lives? Can we? That marriage, that career, that relationship. How we view ourselves or others? Oh, we can be a little delusional about that. Well, he don't drink as much as he used to. He doesn't seem to be as angry as he used to be. I threw it back in the washing machine. He don't smell as bad as he did a while ago. In reality, it did. So I ran through another cycle, pulled it out. What did it smell like? Dead duck. But not as bad as a while ago. In reality, it did. We've all heard 30 times the charm, so I threw it back in the washing machine. More washing powder, more foo-foo stuff. I ran through a cycle, pulled it out. What did it smell like? Dead duck. My friends, listen to me. I had to throw away that perfectly good hunting vest because I could not wash out the smell and the odor of death that had soaked into every fiber of that cloth, and I could not wash it out. And I had to throw it away. You know what really saddens me about that true story concerning that vest? I've just described some of your lives. Where for 10, 15, 20 years you've been hiding those dead ducks in your closet, hadn't you? That child who died at that boat ramp, the one at that vehicle accident, that death notification, that second divorce, all these dead ducks, these emotional and physical losses in our lives. We've been hiding them in the closet, and we wonder why we've lost our peace and our joy. We wonder why we don't laugh anymore. I wonder how many of you in the last 6 months, last 3 months have been told by a member of your family, why are you so angry all the time? Why don't you ever smile anymore? I wonder how many of you have been told that. Too many dead ducks in your closet? You wonder why nobody wants to be around with you anymore or take you to lunch? Because you stink, my friend. That odor in your closet has saturated your uniforms and your sport coat, and it's seeped underneath the threshold of your life. It's infiltrated your home, in your office, in your car, in you. And you wonder why you have no peace and joy in your life. Let's take a break. Okay, guys, does any of this stuff make sense? How many of you, be honest, be willing to admit that in the first hour or so I was talking about you? Say yes. Yes. Yeah, me too. I talk to myself too, and I have to look at my own self in the mirror as well and go, you know what, maybe you got a little room for improvement in your own life. You know what I'm saying? But they taught us well, didn't they? To be tough and to be strong. Go out and do our job that we love so much. It's not always fun. And it's surely not fair sometimes, is it? No. Is it? Life isn't fair. But they taught us well. I'll never forget. Louisiana State Police Academy, paramilitary, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where my wife and I live now. Tough. Man, every day our day would start off at 0500, would end 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever they wanted to. We put in lots of hours. Screaming and yelling and in our face, push-ups and sit-ups and all that stuff. And we'd run through the streets every morning after spending about an hour and a half or so with one of the toughest men I'd ever known, Sergeant Aubrey Futrell. How many of you know who Phil Robertson is? Say yes. Yeah. He's from West Monroe, Louisiana. Y'all do know that. That's where I'm from. Aubrey Futrell was offensive guard at Louisiana Tech University when Phil Robertson was a quarterback at Louisiana Tech. Who was the backup quarterback behind Phil Robertson at Louisiana Tech? Do y'all remember? Terry Bradshaw. Oh, y'all know I'm talking about Terry Bradshaw. He's so dumb. Wouldn't y'all love to take his dumb check to the bank every week? How many Super Bowls did he win? 4. 4 Super Bowls. He's just an old dumb country boy from Louisiana. He did well. Aubrey Futrell, mountain of a man. Screaming and yelling at the academy. He was my sergeant. I was the best man in his wedding. We're friends, but he's tough. We'd run through the streets every morning singing cadence, mile after mile after mile. We sang different songs every day, but we sang this song every single day without fail. Apparently, they're trying to drive home a message. Over the hill, around the hill, hell no, through the hill, through the hill, through the hill. And every time their left foot hit the pavement, they repeated those words over and over and over again. Through the hill. Their message was loud and clear. You're a Louisiana State Trooper. We don't step over things. We don't walk around things. We face them head on, and we do not retreat nor surrender. It's amazing the things we remember. On March 14th, 1986, as I was lying face down in a pool of blood fighting for my life, as thoughts are racing through my mind, I remembered that song, lying in a pool of blood, through the hill, through the hill, through the hill. I will not surrender, and I will not lie here in this pool of blood and die. I'll go through the hill. They taught me well, but how would we know? When we go to work every day, my friends, do we know what we're going to truly encounter? Do we know? No. We ain't got no crystal ball. I mean, they give us tasers and weapons and body armor and cameras and computers and all that stuff. But I don't know an agency who issues out crystal balls so we can see into the future, if you believe in that kind of nonsense to begin with. We don't know, do we? When we step out of that car to approach a violator, or we step out on a dock somewhere, or we knock on the door to run a search warrant. See, we don't know how full their cup is either, do we? We don't truly know what's going on in their life either. Maybe they've already determined, I'm not going to jail again, and I'll take them out if I have to. Guys, does it happen? Does it happen? It does. But they taught us well. To be tough and to be strong. We're sitting at the Franklin Inn restaurant, March 14th, 1986. It's 10 p.m. We're on a drug interdiction detail. Boy Scouts on a field trip, just out having fun. Guys, do we like to get together and just have fun? Yes. Oh, man, dude, listen to me. I talk about my friend Scooty Emfinger of the wildlife agent in Louisiana. I love that guy. Man, I tortured him. I'd stop him all the time just for fun. I told you all that earlier. But he'd call me and say, dude, will you come with me? They're shooting deer. We're working a poaching case, and they're shooting deer at night. Dude, will you come with me? Now, and I was asking Tim this morning, I said, dude, let me ask you something. What do you do? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and shots are being fired in a distance in the woods, and you know they're poachers killing deer. What do you do? Don't you understand as you walk through there, they could be hiding behind a tree or sitting on the top of a rock somewhere where you scoped in with a night vision scope on their rifle and they got a red dot on your forehead? Don't you understand that? Can it happen, my friends? Yeah. We're sitting at the Franklin Inn restaurant. This little hole-in-the-wall restaurant. Man, they made some great hamburgers. The little lady who ran this restaurant, she was about 5 foot tall, weighed about 300 pounds. Now, guys, I'm convinced of this. Never eat at a restaurant if the cook is skinny. You know what I'm saying? Now, this little old gal, she knew how to cook a hamburger patty. You know what I'm saying? We ain't talking about no prefab stuff. She knew exactly what 1/3 of a pound was because she had done it a million times. She'd reach in that pail in that refrigerator. She'd scoop her out a big old handful of that ground beef. Man, it was beautiful. She knew what 1/3 of a pound was, and she'd patty that baby up, roll it, throw it on that char fire. Fire come up. It was beautiful. We sat down. Jerry Mayfield, one of my sergeants, great guy, very analytical. Don't have the best sense of humor in the world. Great guy. I tortured him, man. I tortured him. He ordered a double meat double bacon, double cheeseburger, and an order of fries and a Coke. I'm a competitive power lifter. Now, if you know anything about wrestling or competitive lifting, anybody in here done either one of those two things? Say yes. See, you lift in a certain weight class or you wrestle in a certain weight class. So about a week prior to your meet, you want to be at the top of your weight class. You want your weight to be up, but you can't go over, and you don't want to be too light. So you watch your body weight. So about a week out, you really watch your diet. I lift in the 198s. I'm training for a regional powerlifting meet in which I was expected to break several records. I am Superman. I bench pressed 450 pounds, and I could put my tennis shoes on and run all day without stopping. I am freaking Superman. And I worked out in an off-white t-shirt with a big red S on the front. And every day, my friends, when I put it on to train for competition, the subconscious mind saw Superman. And I went out to prove, mostly to myself, that I was Superman. If you call for a backup, you wanted to hear headquarters F-18 is en route, because that's me. I got a reputation for being tough. When my brother's screaming for help, I'm en route. When I get to the scene, if I don't burn up my engine getting there, at the very least, I'm going to rip out my transmission, because I'm going to throw that bad boy in park at about 20 miles an hour, and I'm going to bail out like the Tasmanian devil. I'm looking for somebody to take out. My brother's in trouble, because I got a reputation. I will slap the taste right out of your mouth. It's an art. I'm going to teach that between 11 and 11:30. We'll need a couple of volunteers. Tim's already volunteered. Tim said, "You better find your blind butt back to the airport by yourself." But how would we know? As we sat there at the restaurant, I'm looking at Jerry, now I'm watching my weight. So I ordered me a grilled chicken breast, steamed broccoli, and a glass of water. No man should have to eat that meal. I'm looking at him. He'd take a big old bite out of that freaking hamburger, and he'd look at me and he'd grin. I said, "I'll slap that hamburger down your throat." He'd laugh and joke. He made his first mistake. Somebody hollered, "Hey, Jerry." And he turned around, and when he did, I grabbed that hamburger. And I shoved as much of that hamburger in my mouth as I could. He snatched it out of my hand. He started hollering and cursing at me. I thought it was pretty funny. He had the audacity to order apple pie a la mode. Homemade apple pie, a big old slab of apple pie. She brought that apple pie out there, steaming hot, steam rising off of it. I looked at him, I said, "Dude, I ain't believing you ordered apple pie." He said, "I ain't done." She walked up that half-gallon of golden vanilla ice cream. She said, "Jerry, how much you want?" He said, "I'll tell you when to stop." She started dumping ice cream on top of that hot apple pie, melting down the side. I'm just looking at that going, "Oh, dude." I'm salivating like a dog. He made a second mistake. He turned around to speak to somebody. My friends, I did not use spoon nor fork. I reached over there with my hands, and I grabbed that apple pie in my hand, ice cream running down my arm, and I shoved as much of that apple pie in my mouth as I could. He snatched that pie from me, screaming and hollering and cursing at me. We're laughing and having fun. Life is good. And an hour and a half later, I'm going to be lying in a pool of blood fighting for my life. How it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. Oh, but my friends, are you prepared? If it happens to you, are you prepared? As you watch me walking back and forth in front of this table, using my hands to become my eyes to some extent, you should be thinking to yourself, only by the grace of God go I. Because what happened to me, my friends, could it happen to you? Yes. Are you prepared? Are you prepared? And I surely wasn't. They taught me how to be a cop, college educated, well-trained, experienced cop with a reputation, but my friends, I was not prepared for the valley I'm about to have to walk through, not mentally and emotionally, how would we know? How would we know that at 11:35 p.m., this man who had been traveling north for the last 2 hours is on a mission to kill a cop just for fun? He has 5 weapons on the front seat of his car. He sprayed his license tag with blue paint. He scraped his safety inspection sticker off the front windshield. Someone please tell me why he did those 2 acts. He wants to be stopped. Don't you understand that there are people out there who would love to take you out and they'll set you up? Don't you understand that? This is not a game. This isn't for everyone. This ain't Hollywood or TV land. This is real life and death stuff out there. You better be thinking about what you're doing. You might not get a second chance. How would we know? I heard one of my friends holler, "Stop that car," as I looked to the left on this drug interdiction detail as he sped by. "But you don't run through my roadblock, not on my highway, breaking my laws. I'm a Louisiana state trooper. You're in my parish." I wonder how many cops will be killed this year because of that arrogance right there. My city, my county, my way. This ain't no game. This is real life and death stuff. I jumped in my car and I took out after him. I'm Superman, you see. He slammed on his brakes in the middle of the highway. It never crossed my mind as a cop of 9.5 years that he is setting me up to take my life. I swerved around the left side of his car on this 4-lane divided highway. I see the driver's door open. I'm thinking to myself, you better run. There's a cotton field on the left, a sweet potato farm on the right. I'm thinking, you better run. You better get yourself a head start, son, because you're going to need it, because I'm about to introduce you to one of the best. Oh, how stupid and arrogant of me. I pulled my car in front of his at 11:35 p.m. Have I just made myself a serious tactical error? Did I? Did I know it? Come on, guys, did I know it? Yes. Did I care? No. Did not. I'm Superman. I do it my way. You don't run from me. Oh, how arrogant of me. I bailed out of my car. I'd taken about 3 steps and I realized that I was in trouble. I'm not feeling quite so arrogant right about now, though. I remember thinking, God, I hope he's running. I'm blinded by his headlights. I knew better, my friends. I've made thousands of traffic stops. I knew better. But I'm Superman. I can only imagine what he must have been thinking. As he stepped from behind his driver's door from 29 feet away with a 12-gauge shotgun in his hand, surely he must have been thinking as he saw me standing there in the middle of this 4-lane divided highway with no cover, blinded by his headlights. Surely he must have been thinking, I didn't know it was going to be this easy to kill a cop. And he fired the first round. I didn't see him. I saw the blast. I saw that stupid blast. Looked like 50 Roman candles tied together as the pellets raced toward me in the dark, on fire. I saw them. I drew my weapon and returned fire. How many of you in here have been involved in a shooting? Say yes. Do you have time to think? What's your name, my brother? Eric, do you have time to think? No. You don't have time to think. I returned fire. I'm going to hit him in a lethal spot. I'm going to hit him in the right femoral artery. Blood is spurting out of his body as he fired the second round. But this ain't Hollywood. The survival of the fittest. And they don't just fall over dead, do they, Eric? No. They don't just fall over dead. As I fired my first round, he simultaneously fired his second. but the second blast would hit me directly in the face and take away my sight instantly and cast me into a world of total physical darkness, into a world of darkness you can't even comprehend. I'm lying face down in a pool of blood, fighting for my life. Thoughts are racing through my mind. I could hear the tape player in my police car. Jimmy Buffett was singing Cheeseburger in Paradise. I heard the deputy who's backing me up. He's watching the exchange of gunfire. He's screaming over the radio, "Give me an ambulance out here. We have a trooper down." I felt no pain. It's amazing how the body will take care of you. I felt no pain. 7 shots rang out. I assumed those 7 shots were coming from the violator. I counted each one and cringed as each round went off, lying face down in a pool of blood. Thoughts are racing through my mind. I thought about my 10-year-old daughter, Kim. I thought about my mama, who had died on December the 12th, 1962, at the age of 36. December the 12th, which happened to be my 10th birthday. And I thought about that. Its thoughts are racing through my mind. Bobby, you were 10 when your mama died. Now your daughter, Kim, will be 10 when you die. Let me ask you a question, my friends. When your life hangs between the balance between life and death, can you will yourself to die? Yes. Shake your head, yes. You can. The mind is so powerful. And I began to fight those thoughts. And I thought about Kim. And I thought about the academy. I remember that song, Through the Hill. Through the hill. Through the hill. Those 7 shots came from Deputy Don McDuffie. When he arrived on the scene, he jumped out of his unit. The violator turned the shotgun away from me and toward Deputy Don McDuffie, and Don would light him up. Don saved my life. I would not be here today if it weren't for Deputy Don McDuffie, but we're a family, and I expect nothing less. I'd have done the same for him. We're a brotherhood. We're supposed to be there for one another. It has nothing to do with the color of your uniform or the color of your badge. We're a family. I'm no better than you, or you no better than me. We're all out there to take care of each other. Don't you understand that? But how would I know? The lying there in a pool of blood fighting for my life was a mere beginning of a long, long, dark valley that I was not prepared to enter. Imagine, if you will. Imagine, if you will, we're sitting at the Troop the day before my shooting. Imagine, if you will. We're sitting there drinking coffee, telling war stories, lying, just having fun, laughing and joking at each other. Imagine, if you will. One of the troopers comes in and sits down at the table, looks over at me. Bobby, I had a horrible dream last night. What a nightmare it was. Bobby, I dreamed you were involved in a shooting. You were shot in the face and totally blinded. Bobby, you're about to lose your career that you love very much. You're going to lose your sight. You'll be cast into a world of darkness that will scare you to death. Oh, Bobby, you're going to lose your second marriage. She'll watch you day after day. I was married to Miss Louisiana. She'll watch you struggling tremendously, sitting on the couch and in the corner of your bedroom sobbing for hours that will turn into days. She'll get no help, and neither will you. She won't know how to deal with all this grief and loss. And she'll sit down next to you one evening, and as tears roll down her face, she'll tell you, I can't take this anymore. And she'll get up and walk out and never come back. You're going to lose your sight, your career, your marriage, your financial stability. Bobby, they're not going to know what to do with you, so they'll cut your pay 25%. And they'll place you on a medical retirement, and they'll send you home. No longer a part of the family. And you'll struggle tremendously. Well, we'll come see you, Bobby. We'll be there for you every day. We're a family, you see. We'll come see you. We'll ask you how you're doing. You'll tell us you're doing okay. But we know that you're not, because neither are we. Because when one of us are seriously injured or killed in the line of duty, my friends, does it affect the rest of the family? Does it? You better believe it does. Oh, but Bobby, you won't tell anyone. As you sink deeper and deeper into despair, but you won't tell anyone. Paranoia and fear will consume your life. Or we'll leave every evening. We won't want to leave, Bobby, leave you home alone. Oh, without ever being said, we know that you don't like being left alone. But we have a family we have to go home to as well. And we'll leave every night, Bobby, and you'll lock the doors and leave. Hey, man, turn out them lights on your way out. I'm energy efficient. Can y'all imagine how much money I'm going to save on my utility bill now being blind? Oh, Bobby, we'll laugh and joke about it, but it won't be funny. As we get in our units and we back out of your driveway, we'll see the last light go off, and we'll hear the doorknob lock. As tears will begin to roll down our face as we sit there watching you in your world of darkness, because we know what you're going to do. You'll walk down the hall and you'll sit in a corner of your bedroom, and all night long you'll sit there as fear and paranoia consumes your life, afraid to go asleep, afraid that you'll be harmed again. You will develop agoraphobia, fear of leaving a safe environment, afraid that something bad's going to happen to you again, but you won't tell anyone, Bobby. As you sink deeper and deeper into despair, Bobby, one day your cup's going to overflow, and you ain't going to be able to take it anymore. Because you're only human. You're not Superman, Bobby, you're only human. And you'll crawl across the floor like a dog one evening as your cup overflows. And you'll pull yourself up on the edge of the bed, and you'll open the top drawer to your nightstand, and you'll pull out your service weapon. Oh, Bobby, you won't want to die. You'll just want the emotional pain to go away. There will be no light at the end of your emotional tunnel, and you'll struggle tremendously as the tears pour down your face. I just want it to go away, and you'll contemplate taking your life. Had someone told me that one day prior to my shooting, my friends, I'd have laughed in their face. Are you crazy? You think I'd do something that weak and silly? You know me better than that. You know my reputation better than that. I would never do something that silly. And my friends, everything I just mentioned to you is exactly what I went through and so much more, but I wouldn't tell anyone. As I sank deeper and deeper into despair, until one Sunday evening I had a full-blown panic attack in my driveway, and my neighbor across the street's a registered nurse. Her husband's a former cop. I actually told her one day what was really going on across the street in that house, in all that darkness, because I trusted her. My friends, I mentioned to you when I started here this morning, it's about trust. Do you trust your brother to be there for you? Or they just want your information so they can go tell everybody else it's the truth? I'm sitting on the bathroom floor at the emergency room at the hospital. She said, Bobby, if you don't get some help, you're not going to make it. I'm sitting on the bathroom floor, leaned up against the toilet, crying with my face in my hands. I felt so much shame. Big boys don't cry. I'm a cop with a reputation. I felt so much shame. These 5 doctors who saved my life, who tried to give me back my sight, they're all on their way. I knew them all. We were all friends prior to my shooting. I knew them all. And they're coming to the hospital because they're my friends as well as my physicians. One of my neurosurgeons walked into the bathroom as I sat there on the floor crying, and he sat down on the floor next to me. This noted neurosurgeon sat down on the bathroom floor next to the toilet, and he put his arm around me. As he pulled my hands away from my face, he said, Bobby, lift up your head. Lift up your head. You have no reason to be ashamed. Bobby, you lift up your head. He said, now you listen to me carefully, with firmness in his voice, but with compassion. He said, now you listen to me. He said, Bobby, as a cop, you took an oath to protect and serve all those people out there, the same oath as I took as a surgeon, to do no harm and to save their lives. He said, but Bobby, there's a problem. You see all those people out there, the ones you swore to protect and serve, they have unrealistic expectations of you to perform. They've placed you on a pedestal which you cannot even achieve from. He said, Bobby, you need to understand something. There is no Superman. You're only human. You're only human. We got up from the floor and we walked into a conference room. These 5 physicians are sitting there. They said, Bobby, you've got to get some help or you're not going to make it. In less than 2 hours, I've had 2 physicians and a registered nurse tell me if I don't get some help, I'm not going to make it. They must know something I don't know. Bobby, we've got an appointment for 9 o'clock in the morning for you to see our staff psychiatrist. Now, we in this law enforcement family, are we real crazy about mental health professionals? Bunch of freaking nuts. We don't care about mental health professionals. Well, Bob, how do you feel about that, Bob? I feel like punching you in the mouth. How about that? Well, I sense there's anger there. Oh, no, dude, there ain't no anger here. There's hatred and hostility, and I'm looking for somebody to take it out on. You see what I'm saying? We don't know how to deal with all these feelings and emotions and this anger and this rage and this losses in our life. And we usually take it out on the ones, we've already talked about it. We take it out on the ones we love the most, don't we? I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Sitting on the front row, post-traumatic stress conference, 3 days. Might as well go, I ain't got nothing else to do. Sitting on the front row, 6 feet from the podium, it's right there. Each one of these mental health professionals present an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was. It's 11 a.m. This man is going to present for 45 minutes. We're going to take a break, come back at 1. He walked to the podium and he began to speak about the effects of trauma in our life and how it affects our life. But he talked about what happens following a traumatic event in your life, whether it's an emotional or physical loss. But he was talking about things that I knew about, that I had experienced. And then he talked about if it's not appropriately dealt with, I said appropriately dealt with, how it affects our life and where we go at that point, where you're at right now in the journey, your valley, if you will. But he was talking about things that I knew about, that I had experienced. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, and the room is full of people, much like it is here this morning, but I remember thinking, he's talking to me. He's talking to me. What's going to happen to you in the future if it's not appropriately dealt with, how it affects the rest of your life, and how you view things in the rest of your life. He's talking to me. But I remember sitting there thinking, he didn't learn that in a textbook. He's talking about things that only a few of us would even know about. He's been there. That man's been there. He finished his lecture. Be back at 1. And I stood to my feet and I stuck out my hand. I said, excuse me, sir. Sir, may I have a moment of your time, please? And I stuck out my hand. And he grabbed my hand. And I held his hand, my friends. I wouldn't let him go. He has something I need. And I looked him straight in the face and I said, "Sir, prior to becoming a psychologist, what did you do?" What do you think he said? He said, "I was a cop in West Virginia. And prior to that, I served 2 tours in the infantry in Vietnam." My friends, has he been there? Has he? Does this man know what he's talking about? And I grabbed him in my arms and I burst into tears and I began to cry. I said, "My brother, I'm a cop. I was shot in the face and blinded. Will you help me? You've been there. Will you help me?" Week after week, I sat in this man's office. I never saw him as my therapist. I don't think he ever saw me as a client. Just 2 brothers sitting in an office. Oh, my friends, there were times in our conversation, because he was good. Boy, he knew how to get me to talk, because he knew how to have relationships, and he knew that sharing goes both ways. And there were times he would talk about in a foxhole or being pinned down in a rice paddy with his best friend dead in his arms. And I could hear it in his voice as he fought back his own emotions. Week after week, I sat in his office. And he'd sit in his chair, and I'd sit on the couch, and we'd talk. "Tell me about your dad. Who are you, Bobby? Besides the state trooper who was shot, who are you? See, I want to get to know who are you. Where'd you come from? Tell me about your dad. What about your mom? I want to know who you are. I want to know, did you have death in your family and how you dealt with it? And what examples were said. I want to get to know you." He taught me well. And we talked about my mama. And I could see him in my mind as he'd get up from his chair and he'd walk to my closet and he'd open it up and he'd reach in. He'd pull out a dead duck. He'd sit on his chair and he'd look at it. He'd say, "Bobby, tell me about this dead duck. Tell me about your mama and the day she died." I talked about my mama. This beautiful lady who had an incurable disease, who never took a single day for granted. And I talked about my mama, this beautiful lady who loved everyone, took no day for granted. And I'd cry and I'd cry. All these feelings and emotions from 23 years away. Oh, but they don't go away. All those dead ducks in your closet. Oh, we talked about the 3-year-old little girl who died in my arms. Oh, we talked about that dead duck too. And the little girl who was sexually abused by her grandfather. I was so angry. And I wanted to kill him for abusing this beautiful child. I wanted to kill him. We talked about that. How we deal with these feelings and emotions of anger and rage. Understanding you cannot heal until you feel no exceptions to the rule. They also decided, these 5 surgeons sitting at that conference table that Sunday evening, they also decided, "Bobby, you need to go to blind school. Prepare for a future of blindness." But I don't want to go to blind school. Because going to blind school meant what? You're blind. It don't take no genius to figure this crap out, does it? I'm blind. They usually don't send sighted people to blind school. I don't want to be blind. I want my sight back. My friends, listen to me. I truly believed I'd see again. God can give me back my sight in an instant if that's His will. If He chooses to, or use a surgeon's hand, He's God. He can do that. Oh, but my friends, listen to me. God don't make no mistakes. And He allows things to happen that we don't understand. I know I don't understand. I got so many questions, so few answers. But things happen for a reason. He don't make no mistakes. I just don't like it sometimes because I'm only human. I don't want to be here. Don't want to be here at this stupid blind school. Now I realized, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months following my shooting, I realized that I developed a very unique ability. I don't know if any other blind person has it because I've just never asked. I just don't know, but I know that I do have it. I can detect ugly. Some of y'all walked by me a while ago. I didn't say nothing. Thank God some of you got a dog to play with is all I can say. The director of blind school was totally blind. She tapped her blind, ugly butt up to me. She got right in my face. Bobby, stick it there. Do what? Pretty liberal blind school got going on here. She said, Bobby, I got my hand stuck out, shake my hand. You ever seen two blind people trying to shake hands? Now, I got a bad attitude anyway. I don't want to be blind, don't want to be at this stupid blind school. I said, we just say hello or something like that. All this handshaking nonsense. Oh, Bobby, we're going to teach you how to do all that stuff here. I said, really? We'll teach you everything you need to know. I said, really? I said, can you teach me how to drive a car? Well, we can't do that. Can you teach me how to fly a plane? I love to fly planes. Oh, we can't do that. I said, well, then you ain't going to teach me everything I want to know then, are you? My friends, Freddy Krueger and Dennis the Menace rolled into one. That was me. I did not want to be here, and I figure if I got to be here, you will pay for my presence. My goal every day in blind school, if I could not make one of the instructors at blind school have a nervous breakdown, my day was a failure. I tortured them. Bobby, you need to go to class. I said, I ain't going to class. Bobby, you need to go to typing class. I said, no, I'm going to home ec. I need to learn how to cook. I broke every rule. Now, guys, let me ask you a question. Why do you think I was so rebellious? Come on, tell me why I was so rebellious.
Died at 10.
Say that again.
Mama died at 10.
Mom died? What'd you say? I don't want to accept this. I don't want to be blind. I don't want to accept all. There's too much loss in my life already. And now I'm blind on top of all this other crap. I don't want to be here. And I tortured them. She handed me, she said, Bobby, I got something for you. Now, do we trust people? No. Especially if they're not one of us. Stuck out my hand. My friends are there. My parents are there. My twin sisters are there. My brothers are there. Those troopers are there. They would never allow anybody to ever hurt me again. They're so protective. They still are today. I stuck out my hand. She placed in my hand that stupid white cane. This subconscious mind is very powerful. This little amygdala thing. All these memories. All these experiences that we've had. She handed me that white stick, and I remember there's a state trooper driving through Ruston, Louisiana, home of Louisiana Center for the Blind. I remember watching those blind people tapping down the sidewalks with little white sticks, tap, 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 tap. Never in a million years ever think that would be me. I'm a Louisiana state trooper. I'm Superman. But I'd watch them tapping down the streets going, Lord Jesus, give me strength. Who matches their clothes? Good God. Hadn't they ever heard of Garanimals or something like that? Now, how many of you guys in here even know what a garanimal is? Say yes. A couple of you do. Now, you men, y'all ain't got a clue, do you? What a garanimal is? Ladies, tell these dummies what a garanimal is. Huh?
Match the animal top to the animal bottom.
There you go. You got a little animal. See, y'all being wildlife agents, y'all should know what a garanimal is. You got a little animal, a little picture of a bear in a shirt, and a picture of a bear on the pants. Now, you did not match a bear and a tiger. You know what I'm saying? Now, most of y'all will because y'all are stupid. Y'all don't know how to dress. Y'all, thank God, y'all got a uniform. Y'all look like a bunch of freaking clowns here today. But I thought about it. As I stood there with that white stick in my hand, I thought about a hostage situation that we've been called out on. SWAT team, we arrive. Negotiator gets there, does an incredible job, talks this man into releasing the hostages one at a time. Talks him into coming to the front door. He opened the front door a couple of inches. He stuck out a broomstick, and tied to the end of that broomstick was a white towel, a sign of surrender. And I stood there, that white stick in my hand, and I remember thinking to myself, I may not can see, but I refuse to surrender to this blindness. I will not surrender to this blindness. See, it pays to be a little hard-headed and stubborn sometime, doesn't it? I refuse to surrender. They showed us around the blind school, and they showed us the apartment complexes where all the blind people live. It was sighted people lived there too. I mean, they were constantly trying to move us into the mainstream of society. God bless them, they meant well. Ain't no telling how many times I spent the night in someone else's apartment. There were times I tried to spend the night in someone else's apartment. I got in so much trouble in blind school, it wasn't even funny. But I called my little brother. He's a doctor in Dallas, Texas today. Great guy. I don't know if they make me better than my little brother Kevin. Man, he's a good father, great husband, very successful doctor. He was in med school at the time. I called him. I said, Kevin, I need you to come by my apartment. I need you to do me a favor. He said, what you need? I said, I need you to take me to a hardware store or somewhere. I said, I need to give me a can of spray paint. He said, Bobby, what in the world are you going to do with spray paint? I said, I'm going to get you to paint my cane. He said, Bobby, what in the world are you going to paint your cane for? I said, I ain't walking around with a white stick in my hand, a sign of surrender. I painted my cane, or I got my brother to paint my cane regal blue. Not dark blue, not navy blue, not light blue or royal blue, regal blue, Louisiana State Police blue. I've lost my family, my police family. I painted my stick regal blue. And I do not leave the house without this stick in my hand. I do not travel without this stick in my hand. Symbolizes my family, my state police family. And no matter where I'm at, my friends, I know I'm holding on to them, and they got me by the hand. Now, we blind people would meet up in the parking lot every morning. We'd walk the blind school, it's about a quarter of a mile away. Now, I'm learning about blind people. You around a bunch of blind people, you better be humming or whistling or singing or something. You know what I'm saying? You better be making some kind of noise, because if you don't, they won't know you're there. And they'll run slap dab into you, and they'll whack you with them sticks. I'd already given that some thought. The first sucker that hits me with a stick, I will choke them unconscious. I'm a trained killer. You can dump a bunch of water out of your glass if you can choke somebody unconscious. It's a beautiful thing. We look like the locusts walking through Egypt on the way to blind school. We ran into mailboxes, knocked over trash cans. You better not be at the intersection bent over tying your shoes when we walk up, brother. It's a serious deal. Now we finally make it to blind school. I got my brand new blue cane in my hand. I want to show off my blue cane, and then it dawned on me. Dude, you in blind school. Ain't nobody here can see nor even appreciate the beauty of your blue cane except one person. Secretary to the director was sighted. She wasn't told her. Bobby painted his cane. She needs a good choking. Here she comes. She tapped her blind, ugly butt up to me again. She got right in my face. Now, do we like people in our face?
No.
Dude, I don't think so. Bobby, I'd like to see you in my office. I said, well, I'd kind of like to see you in your office too. Strike one. Nobody told me about the Strike 3 program in blind school. We tapped down the hall. Tap, 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 tap. We walked in her office. She sat down behind her desk. She said, have a seat. I said, I believe I'll stand. Thinking to myself, I'm a Louisiana State Trooper. You don't tell me what to do. You may ask me a question. You don't tell me nothing. And she began to lecture me. And the more she talked, the more angry I became. I was glaring at her. She didn't know I was, but I was. And I'm thinking to myself, lady, you don't know who you're talking to. I'll come over that desk and I'll take you out. I'm angry at the world. And brother, you are poking a dadgum tiger with a stick. She began to continue to lecture me. Bobby, you need to understand that a white cane is an international sign of blindness. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, people recognize you, that white cane. They'll come to aid and assist you in any way they possibly can. Bobby, you need to understand that a white cane is an international sign of blindness. I said, really? I said, really? I said, you know what, ma'am, that just may be true, that a white cane is an international sign of blindness. But personally, I think walking through Walmart, knocking crap off the shelves is an international sign of blindness. Strike two. I ain't gonna be here much longer. Would y'all believe they kicked me out of blind school? I'm a blind school dropout. I need to get me a bumper sticker, put that on my truck. I'm a blind school dropout. I like that. Make a note of that. I called one of my best friends, Monroe Police Department, Bobby Mann. Bobby and I have been friends forever, police officer there. I said, Bobby, I said, can you come to Ruston and pick me up and take me home? I lived in Monroe, Louisiana, northeast Louisiana, part of the state. He said, well, Bobby, what do you mean pick you up, take you home? I said, well, they kicked me out of blind school. He said, imagine that. And he picked me up. I loaded my stuff in his truck. And we started home. But I was quiet. I was looking out the window. What am I going to do? So angry. This isn't fair. This just isn't fair. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? My wife had left and she had taken almost all the money out of my savings account. I hope she gets run over by a train. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. I damn sure do. I'll talk about that after a while. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay the bills? All these questions, no answers. I'm quiet in this 1 hour drive. We finally get to my house and he unloads my stuff and he said, Bobby, why don't you come spend a couple of days with me and my wife? I'd done that before, following my shooting. I said, no, I just want to be left alone, Bobby. I just want to be left alone. Now, did I just send him a signal? Oh, yeah. Did he catch it? Oh, he did, because we were friends. He knew me too well. I said, I need some time alone. He said, really? For what? For what, Bobby? He said, look at me. Why you want to be alone? Tell me why you want to be alone, Bobby. Thinking about killing yourself, are you? Is that what you're going to do? More than you can handle? You think that's the way to do it? Leave your daughter Kim without a father? Leave the rest of us without a friend? Is that your answer to your problem? You're going to take your life and the rest of us have to deal with it? Now let me ask you a question, my friends. You might be thinking, well, that's awful harsh of a friend to say. But guys, let me tell you what he did. That's what a friend does. Am I telling the truth? Yes. Let's get real. Let's get real. No time for playing games. Well, what are you thinking, Bobby? Well, I don't know. What do you... He didn't do that because we were real. We're brothers. He said, tell me. I said, Bobby, I just need some time to think. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I just want to take a shower. We'll change clothes. And I said, you come pick me up in an hour or two. We'll go have dinner, and I'll stay with you in Monica a couple of days. And he looked me straight in the face. He's right there in my face. He said, then give me your word of honor. Give me your word of honor. Let me ask you a question, my friends. You got a word of honor? Do you have a word of honor? Do you have integrity? Or you just tell people what they want to hear to get them off your back? You see, I mentioned to you this morning, I said I'm a realist, not an idealist. And I don't play. When I got a trooper sitting in my office who's struggling tremendously with the trials of their life, I don't play games with them. We get real. And I ask the tough questions. What's going through your mind right now, my brother? Oh, I don't know. You don't know or you don't want to say. Which one is it? I gave him my word of honor. He said, I'll be back in an hour. And he drove away, and as he walked out the door, I locked the doors. I always did. But this time, instead of turning out the lights, I began to turn them on. His tears began to pour down my face. This isn't fair. And I walked into the kitchen, and I turned on the lights. Down the hall, I walked, and I turned on the lights, and I cursed the darkness. Come on, God. This isn't fair. What have I done to deserve this? Isn't it amazing when bad things happen in our life? We always think we had to do something wrong and we need to be punished. Oh, how ignorant of us sometimes. Don't you understand? We ain't God. Things happen for a reason that sometimes make no sense to us. Nor does it have to, but there's a reason. We just might not understand, but there's a reason. And I walked into my bedroom and I turned on the lights. In my bathroom I walked. As I walked in the bathroom, I stood in front of that mirror. As I looked up at that row of Hollywood lights, they were so bright. With my hand on the switch, and I flipped that switch, I could feel the heat, they were so bright. But there was no light. As tears poured down my face, I lowered my head. I'm about to start a journey that will last the rest of my life. And for the first time of many, many times to come, I'm about to face the man in the mirror. And I could see him, Trooper Bobby Smith, standing there in that regal blue uniform and that gold badge on his chest. I like Trooper Smith. He was tough, but kind and compassionate. My friends, I never arrested a single teenager in my parish. Not one. Oh, I caught them with drugs and alcohol and speeding and driving, just acting stupid like teenagers do. But I didn't take them to jail. I took them home. And I sat down with their parents because I cared. And I said, we have a problem we need to deal with. Because if we can't fix it, the next time they're coming with me. And I love those people and I serve them well. But I'm so angry at him. And I begin to scream at him at the top of my voice, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Why won't you ask for help when you need it? Why won't you accept help when it's offered to you? What's wrong with you? You see, I found out something in the last 27 years, being totally blind, that person in the mirror looking back at you would never lie. Or you may lie to yourself, but that person in the mirror looking back at you would never lie if you've got the guts to listen. And here's what he said. He said, I'll tell you what's wrong with you, Bobby. He said, you're arrogant. And you're self-centered. And you're prideful. And you will continue to self-destruct, my friend, until you understand. You need help. I need help. I walked into my bedroom and I picked up the phone as I held the receiver in my hand. But what will they think? Will they think I'm a coward? Will they think I'm a wimp? Will they think that my career as a cop was nothing but a facade? That I'm nothing but a coward? Will they think I'm weak? Will they still want to be my friend if I tell them the truth? That I'm struggling tremendously and I'm dying inside? Will they still love me then when I tell them the truth? That I'm not doing so well? And I called each one. These 5 police officers, my best friends, and we sat down in my den and I told them the truth. That I was struggling tremendously. And yes, I had some thoughts of suicide and I didn't want to die. I need help. I need some help. I wonder, as we prepare to take a break, I wonder how many of you sitting here this morning are scared to death to face the person in the mirror. And maybe for the first time in your life, get real and be honest. Let's take a break. You know, I walked into my therapist's office one afternoon. You know, this former cop, soldier. You know, if I walk in this morning and then ask every one of you, I said, you know, how you doing today? What do we say? Fine. We're fine. We're doing good. I'm fine. But I learned with him, because I knew I needed help, but I learned with my therapist, to be honest, because he told me, he said, Bobby, he said, I'm very busy. And he said, I got lots of clients and I'm a very busy man. He said, all I ask of you is don't waste my time. Was that fair? Yeah. He said, so if you want me to help you, and I want to help you, all I ask of you is to be honest. Guys, is that too much to ask to have a relationship? Is it? Be honest. Just be honest. As I was working undercover narcotics, and me and my partner had been working this deal, and we'd been buying cocaine and stuff, and we were riding around. We'd got through with the deal that we'd been working on, and I asked him, and you know, he was the best man in my wedding, and I asked him one day. I said, Pat, I said, have you ever lied to me? He said, only when it was in your best interest. I said, I appreciate that. But I walked into this therapist's office. Now, counselors are really good at reading body language. How many of you in here are investigators? Say yes. Have worked in an investigative division? Say yes. Yes. Now, in writing reports and stuff, and I worked as an investigator, and I worked in narcotics and all that stuff, and you know, we go to, you know, body language and reading body language and that kind of stuff, interviews, interrogation schools and stuff like that, and how to do that. But one thing, you know, we all know that as an investigator, when you're taking a statement from someone, you might ask us, okay, I want you to write down, what were you doing from 11 a.m. until 2 a.m. the next morning? Are they going to write all that stuff down, right? No. What are they going to leave out?
Anything you want.
Say that again.
Anything you want.
Yeah. What'd you say, my brother? The bad stuff. They're going to leave out anything that ties them or gets them close to being tied into the crime, right? Therapists are no different than that. They're asking questions And they know that there's probably a reasonable response, which you should be saying based on their experience and how they know how we as human beings respond to certain situations and things. And when it gets a little too close to home for us, how we respond. They also look for what you leave out, because that's important. Why'd you leave that out? Now, because what you're basically saying, if I left that out, it means what? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that. That's too close to home. So I walked into his office and I sat down on the couch and he looked at me and he said, "What you so angry about today?" Now my first response was to say what? I ain't angry. But he asked me, he told me, he said, "If you're going to work with me, you're going to be honest." I wanted to say I'm not angry, but in reality I was. I was really angry. And I sat there and I looked at him. I wanted to ask him a few questions, but I knew it was a waste of time because he'd already figured me out because he's one of us. I said, "Doc, I am angry." I said, "Matter of fact, there's a lot of things I'm angry about. Now remember, you cannot heal until you feel. No exceptions to the rule." And he taught me, and I was listening. Bobby, until you deal with these issues in your life, they're not going to go away. Pay me now or pay me later, like the Fram Oil Filter motto says, but you're going to pay. There is a price to be paid for your feelings and emotions. The price depends on you. I said, "Doc," I was sitting on my back porch this morning. I said, after I got shot, my brother owns a construction company. I said, I'd just sit down with him on a piece of paper and a pen. I drew out my house. I said, "I just want you to build me. This is what I want right here." Beautiful little house in the country. Loft overlooking the fireplace and the den. Hardwood floors. Beautiful house. This is what I want. I said, "Doc, I was sitting on my back porch. In the back of my land is some pine trees." And he said, "Every day," I said, "there's an owl. There's significance there. It sits on that light pole in the back corner of my property. Gives me comfort. There's something about that owl. There's still significance in that owl in my life today, even today." I said, "But I was sitting out there this morning drinking coffee. I get up real early, had me a cup of coffee. I said, I could feel the sun rising on my face, birds singing in a distance, so peaceful and quiet." I said, and I began to think about my mama. I said, the more I thought about it, the more angry I became. I so miss my mom tremendously. This beautiful lady who lived in excruciating pain but never once complained, never took a day for granted, never took her friendship for granted, never took her children or her husband for granted. So my mom loved Southern gospel music. She'd walk around the house singing, the old rugged cross, and boy, she knew them all. I miss hearing my mom sing. I said every night as children we'd climb up in the bed with my mom and my dad. I was very blessed. I had great parents. My dad, one of the most gentlest, kindest men you'd ever meet, had a great heart. He died 3 years ago. I said, but I'm sitting there on my back porch. I thought about my mom. I said, you know what, Doc? I don't understand. I said, I guess really I'm mad at God. I'm angry with God. Why in the world would he take my mama? Why in the world did he take my mom? This beautiful lady who loved everyone, who always saw the best in everyone, who made sure she raised us right, to understand the golden rule. Do unto others you'd have them do to you. Well, I can't tell you how many times I heard that as a child. Treat them like you want to be treated, son. Remember the golden rule. I said, Doc, I think about so many people as a cop. You would work these domestic violence complaints and all this, these mothers who did not take care of their children. They didn't care about their children. They're more interested in, how many more sex acts do I need to perform to get some more money, to get some more drugs, and they don't care about their kids. I said, I don't understand, Doc. Why God leaves them and took my mama. I said, I'm angry about that. I said, I remember. So I was sitting there this morning and I thought about my mom standing at the kitchen window one afternoon. A storm was moving in. The sky turned dark. It began to thunder and there was lightning and rain was pouring down. I said, my mom, this beautiful lady, I always appreciated the day she got. She's standing there at the window. She said, baby, come look how pretty. I was just a little boy. I love my mama. I said, I ran to the kitchen window and I held on to her waistline as I tiptoed to look out the kitchen window. I said, Mom, it's just dark and ugly outside. I said, what's so pretty about that? Mom, as a matter of fact, it's thundering and lightning. It's kind of scary. What's so pretty about that? She said, oh, baby, not that. She said, look right over there, son. Can you see it, son? We've all seen it. That single ray of sunlight piercing through the darkness. She said, now remember, son, when the storms of life move in, she said, don't focus on the darkness of the storm, son. She said, you look for that ray of sunlight in the midst of your darkness. I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. Oh, but my mom was talking about her own life. Looking for the light in the midst of her darkness of her own life, knowing that she was going to die just any time because of her incurable disease. But I didn't know what my mama was talking about. But I would understand 20 years later, as a Louisiana State Trooper, totally blind, sitting in the corner of my bedroom crying. And I'd talk to my mama. I miss my mama. And I talked to her. I said, Mom, it sure is dark where I live in this world called blindness. But you'd have never lied to me. You sit in the midst of the storm. You look for that ray of sunlight. I said, Mom, I'll keep looking. I'll keep looking for the sunlight. My friends, there has been much sunlight in the midst of this darkness that I live in, but life isn't always fair. And when I finish here, you're going to understand it has not been fair to me, but I've been blessed. I said, I'm angry about that, Doc. I said, I'm angry at the man who shot me. I don't understand hatred because my mom and dad taught me never to hate. Now, son, you can hate their behavior, but not the man. They taught me well. I said, I don't understand why someone has such hatred toward a class of people called the police, that they would get in their car and just start driving down the highway waiting for a cop to stop them so they could kill them. I don't understand that kind of hatred. So I'm angry about that. He didn't have a clue who was going to stop him. He didn't have a clue who he was going to shoot, nor did he care. He didn't know how it would affect my life or my daughter Kim as she cries herself to sleep every night holding a picture of me in my state police uniform. He didn't know how it would affect her life. Or my twin sister Betty, who still to this day will not talk about my shooting. So I'm angry about that. That someone would just go out and try to destroy someone's life and their friends and family without even a thought. I said, I'm angry about that. I said, I'm angry at the colonel of the state police, who back then I sat in front of his desk after being told by the governor of the state of Louisiana that I could go to the train division. The governor came to see me several times. He'd called to check on me several times, but the colonel of the state police never once came to see me. Never once picked up the phone to call to check on me. He's not a very good man. Very powerful, but he's not a very good man. Oh, he didn't understand the family. Oh, he understand how to be a dictator. And he understood how to lead by fear and intimidation, but he had no leadership skills. I said, and I remember sitting in front of his desk, trying to prove to him that I had worth, that I could work in the training academy and I still could teach, and all the things that I could do, trying to sell him on my strong points, being totally blind. I still had worth. And I'll never forget what he said. As he leaned back in his chair and he said, son, the truth is we have no place for you. We don't need you anymore. And I'll never forget those words as long as I live. I said, and Doc, that would be the day that I would go home and my friends would drop me off at my house and I'd hang my uniform up in the closet and I would sit in the corner and begin to cry. And for hours I sat there and cried until I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed as tears poured down my face with my revolver in my hand because I felt I had no worth. I said, I'm angry about that. That this man whom I can't stand almost caused me to end my life because he made me feel so worthless. I said, I'm angry about that. I said, I'm angry at my ex-wife who walked out on me in one of the most difficult times of my life. I needed her, but it was inconvenient to her to be there with me, so she walked out on me. I said, I'm angry about that. I said, I'm angry at Trooper Bobby Smith. He and his win at all cost mentality always had to win. Superman mentality. I said, I'm angry about that. I lost my career and my sight and so much more because of his win at all cost arrogance. I said, I'm angry about that. And I hate what he did. I hate what he has done to me. I'm angry about that. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, Bobby, how much longer you want to walk around that 100-pound bag of sand on your back called anger and unforgiveness? Oh, you know that little amygdala thing? All those memories. When he posed that question, I went back as a little boy on a farm. We had horses and cows and chickens and pigs and all that kind of stuff. My dad came home from work. My dad was a nurse at the VA hospital for 40 years after World War II. He came home and he said, boys, we got some feed. We got to get to the barn. It's been raining so much. It's so muddy out there. I don't want to make ruts or get the truck stuck. So my two older brothers, 2 and 4 years older than me, bigger and stronger, obviously, than me. I said, boys, we got to get that feed to the barn, these 100-pound bags of feed. He said, let's get them to the barn. And my brothers took off with a 100-pound bag of feed on their back. And I remember leaning over the tailgate of the truck, and I started pulling out one of those 100-pound bags, and Dad said, son, what are you doing? I said, Dad, I can help. He said, boy, you don't even weigh 100 pounds. You can't carry that. I said, I can, Dad. I want to be like my brothers. I can help. But see, my dad had taught me, son, if you start it, you finish it. And I pulled that 100-pound bag of feed. And man, I got underneath it. Man, I put that sucker on my shoulders. It covered my whole back. And I stood up. Lord Jesus, it was heavy. And I took off to the barn. And every step I took, my friends, it was heavy. And my legs would shake. I wrote in my third book, I was going to move on, but it won't leave. My thought won't leave. I wrote in my third book that I was talking to one of my guys who's got cerebral palsy,
muscular dystrophy. He has muscular dystrophy. Beautiful man. And he helped me write my book. And I wrote in the book one day, because the book I wrote it, what's in your heart comes out your mouth, is about forgiveness and being thankful. And I wrote in the book, I said, Ricky, the Bible says that God will never put more on you than you can carry. He chuckled at me. He said, really, that's what it says, huh? I said, yeah, that's what it says. He said, that's not what it says at all. He said, he'll never put more on you than he can carry. I'm walking to the barn with this heavy load, and I would take a step and my legs would shake. And God, that barn seemed to be moving backwards as I kept walking toward it. And it was so heavy. And my brothers were standing underneath the barn, and they were hollering, come on, little sissy boy, you can't do it. You go and lay it down, we'll come get it for you. But in reality, my friends, what were they doing? They were encouraging me. Come on. You can do it. And I got to the barn. It was so heavy. And I dropped that feed off my back. And I remember as a little boy, oh Lord, how good it felt. How light when I got that 100 pounds off my back. And I sat there in my therapist's office. And I thought about that story as a little boy. Of course, it only took a couple of seconds in my mind as I sat there. He said, well, what do you think? What you getting out of it? Why are you holding on to all that anger and unforgiveness? What you getting out of it, Bob? Apparently, you must be getting something out of it, or you'd be getting rid of it. I have to ask you, my friends, for those of you sitting here, and I know that some of you are here, who someone has done you wrong in a relationship, on the job, somewhere, maybe as a parent who's abusive, and you've been holding on to all that anger and unforgiveness. Hadn't it stolen enough of your life? Hadn't you given them enough power over your life to steal your peace and joy? What are you getting out of it? He said, Bob, you ready to let go of it? Or do you want to keep carrying it around? Ain't it wearing you out? I said, I'm ready. And he pulled up an empty chair in front of me. It's called Gestalt therapy, the empty chair therapy. And he pulled up that empty chair and he said, Bobby, he said, I just placed the man in the chair who shot you, Fred Anderson Jr. Why don't you forgive him? When you get ready, why don't you forgive him? And I could see him in my mind. They had told me what he had looked like, this 38-year-old white male. And I looked at him sitting in that empty chair, and I told him, I said, I don't like you. And I don't like what you have done to me and my family and my daughter Kim. I said, I wish no harm on you, although you're dead. I really wished and pray that you're not in hell burning. But that's on you. But I want you to know that you have no more control and power over me, because I forgive you for what you've done to me. I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. And he set my ex-wife in that chair, and I could see her, this beauty queen, sitting there in that chair in front of me. And I was so angry at her. And I wanted to scream and yell at her, why did you leave me? Why did you walk out on me? But I was so angry at her and her arrogance. And I reached over and I touched that chair. I actually felt sorry for her. I said, I forgive you. I forgive you for leaving me. I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. And I set that colonel in that chair and I told him, I said, I can't stand you. I wish no harm to you, but I can't stand you. And what I'd really like to do is punch you right in the frickin' mouth. You have stolen so much of my life because I've harbored this anger and this hatred toward you. But I want you to know you'll have no more power and control over me because I forgive you for what you've done to me. You'll have no more control. I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. And I set Trooper Bobby Smith in that chair. His tears began to pour down my face. I like Trooper Smith. And I touched the edge of that chair like I had my hand on his kneecap. And I said, Trooper Smith, you made a mistake. An arrogant, stupid mistake that cost you so much. You're only human. You just made a mistake. But I told you a while ago that I was so angry and I hated you for what you did to me, but I want you to know that's not true. I was just angry. I don't hate you and I never have. As a matter of fact, I want you to know I love you. I wonder how many of you really need to go home for those things you've done to someone else or maybe even to yourself. I wonder how many of you sitting here today have been self-abusing yourself because of a mistake that you've made. You know, we've heard the term all the time, don't ask someone to clean up their house until you first clean up your own. In dealing with forgiveness, my friends, I think that applies. Don't come talk to me about forgiving someone until you've done your forgiving first. And I told him, I said, I forgive you, my brother. I love you. You made a mistake, but I forgive you. I forgive you, Trooper Smith, so Bobby Smith can move on with his life. I have to wonder how many of you are sitting here today who have been wronged? You keep holding on to your anger and your unforgiveness, and you wonder why you don't smile anymore. And you wonder why you can't even appreciate the beauties of the mountain and the lake and the rivers and the snow because you've allowed someone to steal your peace and joy, but you hold the key to the door to see all that beauty that God has given us. You hold the key to its beauty, and it starts with forgiveness. You see, my mama and my daddy taught me well to be thankful for what you got, taking no day for granted, looking for the sunlight in the midst of your darkness. They taught me well that life isn't fair. Surely learned that as a 10-year-old little boy. My wife Janie and I were in Lafayette, Louisiana. Our niece goes to school there. She's a junior in high school. She was in the 6th grade at the time, 5 years ago. Now, she loves her Uncle Bobby. She and one of her friends spent the weekend with me because Janie and our secretary was going to a conference. She called, she said, Uncle Bob, can I come to Baton Rouge and stay at your house? Me and my friend want to go shopping and we want to go do this. And they know because they're going to come. They're just high school kids and they're going to come in and she's going to want to go eat some sushi and some steak and some shrimp and she'll have $3 in her pocket. If she knows she comes to Uncle Bobby's house, she don't need no money because I love her like my own. So where are you girls going tonight? Well, Uncle Bobby wanted to do this and I don't say a word. I just reach in my pocket and pull out my credit card. I said, y'all have fun. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. See you at 11. Okay. They were in at 10:15. I was impressed. She told her principal at her school, she goes to a private Catholic school. She told her principal about me one day. Oh, my uncle Bobby traveled all over the world, and he's met presidents, and and he writes books, and he lectures all the time, and he's somebody. My Uncle Bobby, he's a very important man. Well, you reckon you could get your very important uncle to come speak to our class? Oh, Uncle Bobby would do anything I ask him to do. She's right. So I went to their school. I talked to this class about the ABCs of success. If you have the right attitude, you can be successful. If you believe in what you say, if you're committed, if you're willing to pay the price, to work hard, to educate yourself, to learn whatever it is you want to achieve in life, you want to be the best, have the best attitude, believe in yourself, and be committed to the belief. And I talk about those things. I'm a storyteller. I make my points with stories to these children that they'll understand. And after I finish every class, and I've done this many, many times, I always say, okay, guys, y'all got any questions? Now, be careful when you ask children questions, because they'll ask you some questions. Well, if you're blind, how come you wear sunglasses? Why is your cane blue and not white? Do you have a seeing eye dog? I said, no, but I've always wanted a seeing eye monkey. Put a pair of blue jeans on him, some tennis shoes, T-shirt, has LSU on it, you know what I'm saying? Baseball cap. Teach him how to read numbers. Walk into an airport, say, dude, C3. Grab him by the hand, got to go to the bathroom, the whole 9 yards. I said, it'd be cool. I'd like to have a seeing eye monkey. Anything else? Any more questions? We're laughing, having fun with these kids. And this little kid was sitting on the front row right there. And I heard him stand to his feet. He said, Mr. Smith, I have a question. I worked undercover narcotics. I think pretty quick on my feet. But this kid is about to set me back. I said, what's your question? I said, what's your name, son? He said, Michael. I said, what you got there, Mike? He said, Mr. Smith, are you thankful that you were shot in the face and blinded? Are you thankful? Am I thankful? I thought to myself as these thoughts are racing through my mind, I'm here to talk about positive outcome in life. And life isn't always fair, but you can get through whatever, no matter what. Am I thankful that I'm blind? Thoughts are racing through my mind. I hate being blind. I hate being blind. But I heard a voice. Something inside that said, Bobby, tell him the truth. Tell him the truth. And so I did. I said, Michael, I hate being blind. I live in a world of darkness that you can't even understand. And I don't like it. I said, I can appreciate the beauty of the day that you take for granted. The clouds, the mountains, the lakes, a bird sitting on a branch singing. I said, all the things you take for granted, I can't see. I said, but Michael, but as a result of being shot in the face and blinded, there are things I'm thankful for. My wife, Janie, this beautiful lady, was sitting right next to Michael on the front row. I said, Jane, will you stand up, please? I said, look at her. I said, isn't she beautiful? I said, she's equally as beautiful inside. I said, Michael, had I not been shot in the face and blinded, I never would have had the opportunity to meet her and have the privilege to marry her. For that, I'm thankful. I said, Michael, Janie and I have a son. His name is Brad. It's the love of our life. He's everything to us. Had I not married Janie, had I not been shot in the face and blinded, I never would have married Janie. We never would have had our son Brad. I said, for that, I'm thankful. I said, Mike, I've done more than 3,000 speaking engagements across this country and abroad. I've spoken in every major city in this country multiple times. I never would have had the opportunity to do that, Michael, had I not been shot in the face and totally blind. For that, I'm thankful. I said, Mike, I went back to school and I worked really hard and I got a master's degree in exercise physiology and a PhD in psychology. I said, I've written 3 books. I said, I never would have been able to do those things, Michael, had I not been shot in the face and totally blinded. I said, for that, I'm thankful. I said, Mike, I met with President Ronald Reagan inside the Rose Garden, and he and I talked about the shooting that he and I both were involved in. I never would have had an opportunity to meet whom I think was the greatest president of all time. I never would have had an opportunity to meet him had I not been shot in the face and totally blinded. I said, Michael, for that I'm thankful. I said, Michael, I traveled to foreign countries where I've literally had them roll out the red carpet in front of me as I approached the podium to speak, being led in by a team of bagpipers. I said, that never would have happened, Michael, had I not been shot in the face and totally blinded. I said, Michael, for that I'm thankful. Oh, my friends. Are you too busy looking about the things you don't have? Or are you thankful for what you got? Do you choose to see the glass half full, not half empty? Do you, like my mama, look out a kitchen window and see a sky that is partly sunny, not partly cloudy? How do you see the world? Depends on your perception of yourself. Let me say it again. How you see the world depends on the perception of how you see yourself. My mama taught me well to be thankful for what you got. Take no day for granted, nothing for granted. But life isn't fair. It just isn't fair. And on September the 29th, my first wife, Jackie, will call me. She's crying on the phone. I said, Jackie, what's wrong? And she said, it's Kim. She's been involved in a traffic accident, Bobby. Please hurry. Get to the hospital. About that time, there's a knock on my door. It's Trooper Cameron Douglas. He said, Bobby, Kim's been involved in a wreck. Jesse Wells is working the wreck. Bobby, she's in really bad shape. She's en route to the hospital. We have to hurry. She's in really bad shape. And we raced to the trauma unit. And I cried and I prayed, God, please don't take my little girl. Please don't take my girl. And we arrived at the hospital and we ran down the hall toward the trauma unit, and all of a sudden, one of the physicians that I was running with, she stopped all of a sudden and began to cry because she could see what I could not. My 22-year-old daughter, Kim, lying there on that gurney dead. And she walked me over to her bedside, and I picked up her hands. As I held her hand to the side of my face, as tears poured down my face, oh, my friends, I could hear her. She's so beautiful. But I could hear her. Daddy, will you read me a bedtime story? You promised you'd read me a story. Dad, will you have lunch with me at school tomorrow? You promised you'd come have lunch. Are you coming, Dad? Dad, you coming to my soccer game? You promised you'd come. Are you coming? Dad, you coming to my dance recital? Dad, you promised you'd come. Are you coming? Oh, my friends, I stood there as I reminisced. So many missed opportunities to spend quality time with my beautiful daughter. Oh, how I took her for granted. That I'd spend more time with her. Well, I just found more time. Oh, how foolish of us to take our children for granted. That they'll always be there when we find the time. You may find that when you find the time, you may find that your children are no longer there to spend time with. Some of you better wake up before it's too late. I try not to make the same mistakes twice. And I was there. The day that Janie walked in the door, I remember like it was this morning. And she walked in the back door of my little house. She's very quiet and shy. She walked up to me as I walked toward her to give her a hug, and she leaned her head against my chest. And then she looked up at me and she said, "Guess what? We're going to have a baby." I was there. I was there on February the 12th, 1990. When Dr. L.J. Mayu handed up me our son, Brad Elliott Smith, this beautiful child, I was there. And I was there every night. I was in graduate school. I'd record my classes and my books were on tape, and every night I'd sit in my recliner and I'd study 6 to 8 hours a day because I was afraid that I would fail. And as a result, I did pretty well in school. But I'd put Brad on my chest. And I'd tell Janie, I said, "Baby, go get some rest. I'll take care of him." And I'd put him on my chest and I'd put my headphones on and I'd study all night. So many times, my friends, I'd wake up in the morning and he'd still be asleep on my chest and my headphones are still playing. I was there. And I was there and I changed those dirty diapers. Oh, Lord Jesus, we'd always wind up in the bathtub. Now, what a mess we'd make. And I'd try to feed him and he didn't understand. He's just a baby. And he'd turn his little head and I'd stick the spoon in his ear. Oh, dude, we spent so much time in the bathtub. But I was there. And I took a stack of books to Janie one day, Bible stories and bedtime stories. And I said, "Janie, read me the books. Refresh my memory so I can read my son the bedtime stories that Mom read to me." And I listened, memorizing the books. And I said, "Buddy, you want me to read you a bedtime story?" "Oh, yeah, Dad." I said, "Go get me a book. What you want to read?" "The Bears." "Go get the Bears." And he'd lay on my chest in his bed, and I'd open up the book, and I'd read from memory. And I'd flip the page. I'd read some more from memory, and I'd flip the page, and he'd go, Dad, you're on the wrong page." But I was there. I taught him how to ride his bike. He taught me how to skateboard. We played one-on-one basketball, and he always won. And that's okay. I was there. And I was there in the 6th grade in an intramural basketball tournament. It's the championship game. Their little team, I'm telling you, they were the Bad News Bears, if you're old enough to remember that baseball show. Just a ragtag of kids, but they got pretty good. And the number one team, they'd won the championship every year. 5th grade, 6th grade, up in the junior high, they'd win every year. But they're playing this number one team. The other team is ahead by 1 point. The other team has the ball, and there's 5 seconds in the game. Surely this game is over. And they threw the ball in. All they got to do is dribble around for 5 seconds, and they'll win the championship game. But all of a sudden, the crowd started going crazy. And I realized they weren't dribbling toward that goal. They were dribbling toward our goal. Something's wrong. What's going on, man? Janie, what the hell? But no one will answer me. They're screaming and yelling. And I could hear the ball as it got closer and closer to the end of the goal. And I'm thinking to myself, 4, 3, 2, they keep me many seconds left. And I heard the basketball hit the backboard, and through the net it went as the horn went off. And Janie jumped off the bleachers and took off running, screaming like a banshee. So I turned to one of my friends and said, dude, what in the hell is going on? He said, Bobby, it was Brad. He stole the ball. He scored the winning basket. We won the game. And I heard someone running up the bleachers. And he grabbed me in his arms. He said, Dad, we won. We won, Dad. He didn't say, I stole the ball and I won the game. He said, Dad, we won. You see, we're a team. This ain't about me. It's about us as a family. We win. We lose. It ain't about me. His tears poured down my face. So proud of my son. He took off running. I was there. And I was there on a soccer field every week. As I'd sit there on the field and look out on the field as he'd run by doing the drills. Hey, Dad. I said, hey, buddy. I heard someone approach me from the left. Knelt down next to me, and I looked over at this person. She said, excuse me. I hope I'm not bothering you. Is that your son? I said, the one that runs by and hollers, Dad, that would be my son. She said, you're that trooper that got shot and blinded, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. She said, I know I'm just being nosy and curious, but we watch you out here. We watch you come out here. We soccer moms, we show up with our kids in our little lounge chairs, and you just sit out here on the edge of the field by yourself and look out on the field. We were just curious, just being nosy. How much can you see? I said, I can't see it all. She said, I don't know, this don't sound right, but she said, I was just curious. Why do you even come out here if you can't even see your son? I said, because I'm not here to see my son. I'm here for my son to see me. That he knows that his daddy will always be there. That I will love him unconditionally no matter what. That there's nothing he can do to make me love him more, and there's nothing he can do to make me love him less. I love him. I'm his father. And I was there. As a junior in high school, as he pinned the state champion to the mat in a wrestling tournament. And he ran up the bleachers and he grabbed me and said, Dad, I beat the state champion. I said, yes, you did. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. He took off running. And I was there on graduation night as they called their names and they walked across the stage. Brad Elliott Smith. And I stood to my feet. It's my son. He's so beautiful. This honor roll student, this gifted athlete who had a contract with Hanes Clothing Line as a model. Look at his picture on the back of the book. God, he's beautiful. He walks into a room. It's like someone turns on floodlights as the room lights up with his personality and his beautiful smile. And they called out his name. And he walked across the stage and down the steps, and he joined his friends as they exited the building. I was there. I'm in the third chair from the aisle, and I heard someone coming down the aisle, and he grabbed me in his arms. He kissed me on the cheek. He said, "Dad, I made it, Dad." I said, "I know you did, buddy." He said, "Dad, I love you." I said, "I love you too, buddy." His tears rolled down my face. So proud of my son. I was there. And I was there when we loaded up his MDX in a U-Haul trailer and we sent him off to college. This beautiful kid who has the world by the tail. He told his friends one day, he said, "You know, nothing will ever happen to me because my mom and dad, they pray for me every day. And they love me so much, and my dad would never let anything happen to me." Oh, but they got these adult bodies, but these children's minds. And they do things, they don't think about consequences of their choices. And on February the 22nd, 2010, Janie and I would walk up the stairs at his apartment in college, and we would find him in his bed, dead of a drug overdose. And it's not fair. It's just not fair. Why we have to endure so much pain that don't make sense. Why we have to pull a child out of a lake who just wanted to go fishing with his brother. And why we have to deliver death notifications of a man who fished his entire life but died in a boat of a heat stroke. It's not fair. Why we have to bury our mothers and our wives and our children, and it's not fair. But oh, my friends, God don't make no mistakes. Go home. When this seminar, this conference is over, my friends, go home. Some of you need to go home and sit down with your family. Some of you need to apologize for bringing the cop into the house too many times and taking it out on them and dumping your cup on them. Some of you need to learn to go home and say these three things. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me, and actually mean it. Oh, but words are cheap, my friends. I can tell you all day long, I'm sorry, please forgive me, but where's the behavior to back it up? Oh, they'd probably be a little surprised, maybe a little confused. They're probably not accustomed to you coming home and putting them before you and your precious little all-about-me career. They may ask, what happened to you at that school this week? Why all of a sudden are we so important in your life? We never have been before. It's always been about you and your precious little career. Why the change? Why all of a sudden are we so important in your life? It's always been about you and your career. What happened to you today? You tell them. You tell them that a blind man taught you how to see. I'll be here for a few minutes. A couple of you have asked about my third book. Please allow me. Guys, I'm telling you, every cop in this country should have a copy of that book. I'm not trying to make sales. I'm telling you, it's that powerful. Because it's about making you look at yourself and doing the right things and learning how to forgive and being thankful for what you've got. Every cop should have a copy of this book. It is that powerful. It may be the only Bible that some of you will ever read. Know this in closing, my friends, that tomorrow when you get up and you go to work, rest assured of this, that I've already been on my knees and I prayed for you, that God will give you wisdom and courage, the discernment that you need to go out and do your job and protect and serve His children. Know that, my friends, because that's not too much to ask, not from a brother. Now, before I leave, I want each one of you to go to my Facebook and become a friend. I'm going to post some stuff, as a matter of fact, from here today, be posted on there. Follow me. You'll see some of the stuff that I'm involved in, that my wife and I are involved in. It's about helping you. It's about doing the right things for our brothers who are struggling. Go see what we do and see what you can do to help. God bless you, my friends. Thanks a lot.